This meeting is being recorded.
Oh my. Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Gravani. I'm the president of the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. Today is March 1, 2023, and I'd like to welcome you all to our Lake Balboa meeting tonight. Chat has been disconnected. We only recognized raised hands. If you wish to discuss anything that's on the agenda, please raise your hand. LA City Charter Section 900, purpose of neighborhood councils to promote more citizen participation in government and make government more responsive to local needs. We are a department within the city of Los Angeles. We are required to follow city and state laws. The Brown Act does not allow us to discuss anything that is not on tonight's agenda. There is an item called public comment where you can address items that are not on the agenda. Time allocations are approximate, and we have a timekeeper. James Brown, you willing?
Sure.
Perfect.
And I will say I will hold everyone to the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. We want to be out of here on schedule, right? So number 2, Pledge of Allegiance. James, would you lead us, please?
Sure. With everyone who's able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Nice bellies. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance, to the flag of the United
States of America,
and to the
republic
for
which it stands,
one
nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty
and
and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it. Roll call. I will do the roll call.
Linda, you don't want me to do it?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd appreciate it. Danica is going to be a little late.
Yeah, I can do it. And I just send you guys a snapshot of what I did.
Okay, perfect.
So James Brown.
Here.
Michael Cortez.
Here.
Ruth Doxey.
Here.
Jasmine Garcia. I do not see Jasmine. Linda Gravani.
Here.
Lydia Jerosimich. I do not see her. Gary Kay.
Here.
Okay, Danica Middleton is going to be late. Jared Negron.
Here.
Alan Nelson.
He's resigned.
Okay, and Carol Newman.
Here.
Jeremy Pisanik.
Here.
Linda Schwering.
Here.
And Jim Stein.
Here.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That'll be 10 board members present.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Number 4, discussion of possible action regarding action to adopt the March 1, 2023 agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda for March 1st, 2023.
I second.
Ruth Doxey made the motion. James Brown seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote.
James Brown.
Yes.
Michael Cortez.
Yes.
Ruth Doxey.
Yes.
Jasmine Garcia not here. Linda Gravani.
Yes.
Lydia Jerosimich not here. Gary Kay.
Yes.
Danica Middleton not here. Jared Negron.
Yes.
Danica actually sent a message saying that she is on, but I don't see her.
Okay.
Oh, here she is. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to bring her over. Okay, it is 6:35. Would you please show that Danica Middleton has joined the meeting?
Yes.
And Lydia Jerosimich.
Okay, and Lydia also. Welcome, ladies.
You can bring Mike Terrazas over as well.
So do you want me to continue where I was, Linda, or you want me to go back to the top of the column?
Do you want me to go back to what?
Top of the column.
Do you want me to start that vote count over? Or do you
No,
want me to
uh-uh.
finish where we're?
No,
Okay.
finish where we were.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanic,
Yes.
Linda Schwering,
Yes.
Jim Stein.
Yes.
Okay. That gave you 10 yes.
Thank you. Number 5, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of February 1, 2023 meeting minutes. I didn't see them. We do not have them. Is that correct?
I sent them to Danica, but probably not in time for her to complete them.
But I did just send them out, but only a half hour ago, you guys.
Okay, so we haven't had a chance to look at it, so we'll continue that.
Okay.
Number 6, announcements and reports. Let's see, we have Officer Mike Terrazas. Oh,
Yes.
there you are. You're there already. Welcome.
Sorry, I think I was having some computer problems.
Well, I just have Linda problems, so welcome.
Okay. Is it my turn?
Yeah,
Yes.
please.
Okay. So Lake Balboa, we're still looking good in terms of crime. There were a couple of things that came up in our last meeting. One was the shooting that happened at Roscoe and Balboa. I know our homicide detectives have served a couple of warrants regarding that. They have a suspect identified. I don't know if they have him in custody yet, but like I say, I do know that there were some warrants served on that. So, and like I said the last time, this wasn't a random shooting. The victim was specifically targeted. So this wasn't anything like a drive-by shooting or something like that. The suspect was actually specifically looking for our victim. The fatal traffic accident at Balboa and Victory. I've talked to Valley Traffic Division. 2 weeks after that traffic collision, Valley Traffic had inundated that area. They at that point had written over 100 citations in 2 weeks in that area of Balboa and Victory to try and get everybody to slow down. They're still out there working that problem, and so they're aware of that and they're actively working it. The other thing I wanted to talk about, we have had just a couple of residential burglaries. I talked about it last week, smashing the rear window, the rear glass door. The one thing that I've noticed is a similar trend that's going on in Encino Tarzana, which is they're going after high value items. So if you keep large sums of cash in your house, if you have valuable jewelry or valuable property, please get a safe, and not only get a safe, but please get a safe, have it bolted down into the floor of the foundation. A lot of these people are coming in and the suspects are actually stealing the safe, just walking out with the safe. So it's not enough, unfortunately, to have a safe. Please have it bolted down, either bolt it to the studs in your walls or have it bolted into your foundation, but make it so that somebody cannot pick that safe up. And please keep your money and your valuables in that safe and keep it locked, because these suspects, those are the things that they're targeting. For women, if you have high-end, high-dollar purses, they also like to take those too. So if there's a way that you can put those into boxes, crates, something that keeps them out of sight, that'll help. But those are the items that they're looking for. Other than that, we had a neighborhood meeting on the 19th. That went really well. We were talking about a little bit of catalytic converter thefts that had gone on. We had 1 week, we had a blip of about 3 or 4. That blip hasn't come back. Our detectives are actually planning on having what's called a catalytic converter etching event. They haven't picked the date yet, probably sometime in April. And what that does is if you bring your car down, they'll etch your VIN number into the catalytic converter. What that does is if somebody steals it, if we recover it, we can trace it back to the person that it was stolen to because their vehicle's VIN number is on there. So that's coming in the future, but probably sometime in early to mid-April. Other than that, that's about it crime-wise that we're looking at. We are having another homeless cleanup on the bike path. That's going to happen next week on Haskell and Victory going down towards Havenhurst. So we're going to have a cleanup there. And I think that's about it for what's going on crime-wise in Lake Balboa.
Thank you. Any questions? Jarrett?
Thank you for the update. Regarding the speeding down Victory and the accident and all that, are the officers also, are they able to keep an eye on those folks who are now taking those fun little shortcuts through the neighborhoods and using those side streets to do their fun spin as well? That's turned into a nice little side event for them, you know, going 40, 50 miles an hour down the side street neighborhoods.
I don't know if they're patrolling the side streets for speed. The one thing about when the motor officers write speeding tickets with a radar gun, the streets have to be, and I'm not an expert on this, so the streets have to be surveyed. They just actually can't go to a random street and use the radar gun. The streets actually have to be surveyed in some way. It's for court purposes. And like I say, I'm not an expert in this. Excuse me. But they can't actually sit and just shoot radar on random streets. The streets actually have to be surveyed by the city. We actually discussed this at the neighborhood meeting. If you see these streets that are being used as little detours that people are whipping down the residential streets, you can contact or petition Department of Transportation and also the city councilman's office. And I know our city council is still vacant, but Jonah Glickman is running the office at this point, and you can petition to have speed bumps, or they have other, I forget what they're called. If you go up to Haskell and Strathern, you'll actually see them also at by the Sepulveda Basin around Burbank and Havenhurst, kind of the little bumps that they put in the road to try and discourage you from speeding because your tires catch those. If you contact the city councilman's office, you can petition, and I would suggest to do it as a community. That always carries more weight with the councilman's office, to say, hey, we need to put some type of speed deterrent because the people are now avoiding Victory and they're cutting up through the residential areas, and they'll make that determination.
Jonah is actually on. He might be able to speak to that, but we've got another hand raised. Jonah, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, regarding the speed hump applications, the department did open a window back in October, and they're currently going through the process of evaluating the 25 to 30 speed hump requests that came in. I know I'm working with some other Lake Balboa constituents on those. I will ask the department if they have plans to open another application window this year. Back before the pandemic, they used to open it on a pretty regular basis. So I'll check in with Department of Transportation and try to find out if a new speed hump application is on the horizon.
Thanks, Jonah. Miriam?
Well, you know, I was on my patio one night at midnight and heard just tires screeching, and they were doing donuts on the corner of Louise and Satacoy. This went on for a half an hour. People were posting videos on what is that website? And people call and they say, call the non-emergency line. This went on. People were standing out there. Kids were out there. You could go up to that street and you could see the tire tracks. And then it happened the next week. And you can hear at midnight, you can hear screeching tires going up and down Victory. If the police just monitored that app, but people complain that nothing's done. The week later, they were doing the same thing. So I don't know what the answer is to this, but calling the non-emergency line, reporting it and then seeing it happen the next week, I don't think it's being taken seriously.
No, that's actually a very serious issue that the department is unfortunately, it's very difficult to combat, but no, that is something that the department is taking very seriously. We actually, our Valley Traffic Division has what's called a street racing task force. They now, unfortunately, they don't work every day. It's a small unit that doesn't work every day. If you see that happening, don't call the non-emergency line, because that is actually an emergency call. That's what we call a street takeover. We've had a lot of fatalities regarding those street takeovers, not necessarily in West Valley, but they've happened in Topanga. They've happened in other divisions. Call 911 about that. That we will come out. We generally come out. The patrol units will come out generally 3 or 4 units deep, if not even more, because they are such a problem. So this is something the department really does take seriously. We're trying to figure out how to do it, because the problem is that they show up randomly. We were following social media accounts and trying to chase them away. The street racing task force has strategies that they use to at least try and arrest 1 or 2 people in these vehicles during these events. So it is something that's taken very, very seriously. But if it happens again, don't call the non-emergency number. That's a 911 call, because if one of those cars loses control, they're going to go through a business. They're going to go onto the sidewalk. So please call 911 on that. That's a true emergency call.
911 sends you to the non-emergency number. The second time I called, it was busy because all the people in that area are calling. And then it happened the next weekend at midnight. You know, it's not that you have to look very far. They know, oh, let's meet on that block. They didn't come and bother us. Some people think the cops don't bother with that because they like to get in there and do it with them. Some of the street racing, they think cops are involved. And if something obvious like this can't be checked out a week later at midnight, they just did it again. So it doesn't matter if I call 911, the non-emergency line. It's a good place. Nobody bothered us. We can only warn so much before we don't think it's going to be taken seriously.
No, it's taken very seriously. Believe me, we have training videos about these. They've actually given us special protective goggles, because when we were responding, the people in the crowd were shining lasers into our eyes. This is being taken seriously. I don't know why 911 would direct you to the non-emergency line. I'm not sure why they would do that. I don't think they should, but that's not my decision. But I will talk to our Valley Traffic Division officer that's in charge of this. His name is Chris Carr. If you need an email address for him, his email address is 37676@lapd.online. And I'll say it one more time. It's 37676@lapd.online.
And what was his name again?
Chris Carr, Carr.
Thank you.
And I sent the video to Linda, and she was shocked when she saw it, because it looks so damn dangerous. But
okay,
it's very dangerous.
Yeah,
and that's why
it is very dangerous. We understand the issue, and we're going to get some kind of resolution if we possibly can. So I appreciate that. We want to move on to some of the other issues that we have, if we could, please. Jonah, would you like to fill us in on Council District 6? Are you the stand-in council member? Wannabe?
Well,
you can still file,
Well, thank you, everybody, for having me tonight. Yeah, I'm kind of pinch hitting today for CD6. As you know, Viana has left the office, so I've been helping out, checking back in with Lake Balboa, and it's been great to connect with some folks and trying to dive back into some of the issues that everybody's working on. My main updates for today is just that, CD6 and the city in general has really been in storm response mode for the last, few days. So I know that there have been a lot of individuals who have been reaching out to our office and social media regarding DWP outages. We continue to be in touch with the DWP on a regular basis. We get almost hourly updates from them on the power outages across the city. And so we're continuing to press for updates, and their crews are working as fast as they can through sometimes dangerous conditions. There was a DWP worker was severely injured over the weekend while doing repairs. So, big gratitude to all of our DWP crews out there trying their best to restore power. We had been making a lot of progress today, but as folks noticed, there are some high winds impacting the LA area. So while the rain has stopped, the wind has now taken its turn to try and knock out some trees and power lines. I'm pulling up a report from MyLA 311, and just over the past week, we've had 252 tree emergency calls in the district, 99 pothole requests, and 29 requests for palm fronds that are down. Those numbers will probably keep going up. So just if you do have pending, if you have a pending tree emergency, for example, I just wanted to report out that we still have 106 open cases and 81 pending tree emergencies across CD6. So we're trying to push as hard as we can to get those serviced as soon as possible. In terms of the unhoused population, as the captain mentioned, we have operation coming up on Monday, March 6th with Metro, Caltrans, and Rec and Parks to clean up the bike path on Victory Boulevard. That was scheduled previously for the 28th of February, but was pushed back because of all the inclement weather. And the inclement weather has just generally pushed back the city's, cleanup operations. We also opened a emergency winter shelter over the weekend in Sherman Oaks, which our teams were able to get a lot of people indoors for a short period of time to get them off the street. We just continue to dispatch homeless outreach teams and working with sanitation and trying to address the tents and RVs that are across our district. Again, I just appreciate Linda, you giving me the time to provide some updates. And, just one last thing I want to leave everyone with is was a tragic incident from over the weekend that could have been even more tragic, where 4 homeless individuals were caught up into floodwaters on Saturday night, and our first responders with the fire department and LAPD were able to do an aerial rescue of 4 homeless individuals and their pets. So what could have been a very tragic situation was avoided thanks to our courageous first responders. So again, huge shout out to them and everybody who's out there trying to keep the city running. I'm here to answer any questions as well, and I'll stick around for a little bit longer as well. And thank you again, Linda, for having me.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Joan. Appreciate it. Next, we have from Jesse Gabriel's office, Assembly District 46, is Jack Trent Dorfman. Jack?
Hi, Linda. Thank
Hi,
you.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is my first meeting representing Lake Balboa. So just to introduce myself really quick, my name is Jack. I'm with Assembly Member Jesse Gabriel's office, District 46. We're your new state legislator, state assembly representative. So just that's, I guess, just my intro. Just for a few quick updates, the legislative session is starting to get going now. The assembly member has 26 different bills that he's authoring that are on the books for this session, which is probably a bit too many to do for an update, but the ones I want to mainly go over are a few of his priorities, which include electric vehicle charging and kind of building up the infrastructure for that. The primary bill for that is called AB 591, which is basically a universal charging bill for EVs. So basically like making the mandating that all the charging cables and connectors are the same across, all the different, kind of the way that like gas stations all have universal, gas pump that you could pull up to. That's the idea, basically, just to improve access for EVs and make it so that, if you have, whatever brand you have, you can go to any station. So that's one of the primary bills. We've also got a bill that I've been working a little bit on, which is an adaptive reuse bill, which is basically like converting office space into housing and different things to kind of address the housing crisis we're dealing with. As I plan on coming to every meeting in person or virtual, however they kind of, end up going over the next few months. So I'll come with different bills to different sessions, and, happy to do that. The only other real update I had was on April 30th, which is a Sunday at Pierce College. We're doing what's called our Day of Service event, where basically we invite, neighborhood councils, but also a bunch of different community service organizations and different groups, schools in the area, to come out and volunteer and do service projects. Some on site at Pierce, and then some we take like groups offsite, sometimes like 20 or 30 people to. Last year, there was a mural that was painted at Garden Grove Elementary in Reseda. This year, we're going to bring some volunteers out with Overdue and a few other environmental groups to do a cleanup at Sepulveda Basin, which may be of interest as well. So I'm going to send over the details to Linda too, but if that maybe could be something to discuss for you guys, if you wanted to bring out some volunteers and maybe do a table and meet some other groups in the community, that I think that could be a great event to introduce you all to the rest of the staff members and to the assembly member as well.
Perfect.
So, and I think my contact info is in the chat, or not in the chat, in the minutes as well.
Yep.
But feel free to reach out with any questions. I'll be your rep for our office. Thanks, Linda, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And it seems every time I turn around, there's Jack. I attend several different things and I'm waving across the room. Hi, Jack. Next, we have from Tony Cardenas's office, Osalvo. Let me unmute you here. There we go.
Yes, hey, Linda.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. This is Osvaldo Ramirez with the Office of Congressman Tony Cardenas, and I'm going to give a few updates. I'll start with a legislative update. The congressman recently introduced a bill called, it's HR 498, and it's called the 988 Lifeline Cybersecurity Responsibility Act. This bill would improve cybersecurity at the National Suicide Hotline following an outage of the system in December as a result of a cyber attack on the system operator. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline was launched in July as a revamped version of the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and this bill would amend the statute authorizing the program to require better coordination and reporting on potential cybersecurity vulnerabilities within the Lifeline, with the goal of mitigating future cyber attacks and preventing disruption of the services. And then I'll give a district update to keep my updates brief. This February, this Valentine's Day, our team worked with the congressman and our local elementary schools with the Valentine's for Heroes program, where we invite elementary schools to write Valentine's cards thanking our heroes, military service members, and veterans for their service. And so the congressman stopped by a few schools that participated, and in Lake Balboa, the two schools that participated were Galt Street and Stagg Street Elementary. So, I'll give a round of applause to them, all the beautiful, amazing cards that their students wrote for our veterans. And we went ahead and hand delivered them at the Sepulveda VA and other veteran organizations in the San Fernando Valley. I'll leave my update at that. I'll take any questions, and I believe my information's on the agenda as well. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. I think that's all the field reps that we have. So that would mean Department of Neighbor Empowerment, Daniel Johnson. Don't be shy. Here we go.
I totally am not shy. Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel Johnson. Let me see if I can try to get some lighting for you all. My name is Daniel Johnson. I do work for the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I am the NEA, the Neighborhood Empowerment Advocate for Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. I have a few updates for you all today. The first one is Happy Women's History Month. I just want to go ahead and acknowledge that before I start. And then moving forward, I'll just jump right into the training pieces. Looks like you all are doing great in regards to training, so I have no critical updates there. Looks like a few folks are just missing the anti-bias training that is there, or excuse me, let me get the correct terminology here. It is the, ooh, I had it up and now I don't. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much for allowing me to correct myself. The ABLE training. Just a couple of folks are missing that training. If you could get that in as soon as possible, that would be great. I do want to share that one of your wonderful board members, your colleagues on the board, has sent some updated information for me to support the department in updating. So if you can, please check the rosters and get an updated roster to me as soon as possible. Those changes are normally made on the Empower LA web page for your neighborhood council if I receive an updated roster, not necessarily just the email, but an updated roster as a whole. That also provides opportunity for you all to provide an updated email, updated telephone number, or whatever the case may be needed that the department may need to have so we can get in contact with you all if you all may need some more guidance and support. Next update I have is in regards to your site location. Of course, I'm gonna be the wonderful NEA that you all have and say, if you have not locked in and secured a location through an agreement, whether it's a lease or a facilities use permit, please, my recommendation would be to not have that meeting, right? The worst thing possible that could happen, I would not want to happen, would be you're not successfully securing a location on paper, having a meeting, member of the public or a member on the board or your wonderful NEA shows up and somehow gets hurt from a paper cut to a slip and fall. That would not be great on anybody's end, all right? So I just wanted to state that. So with that being said, thank you very much for holding the virtual meeting today. And then also I wanted to share that I will be working closely with you all and trying to make sure that information is in so that site location gets approved as soon as possible. I will be doing some follow-up. Linda S., I got you. I was scanning through my emails all day today, trying to keep track of what's going on. So I will be the helpful NEA I can be with nudging the city clerk and making sure that information gets in. Secondary location or alternate location, I'm just asking for that information to get in so we can have that on hand. And therefore, if it needs the ADA assessment as well, we'll be able to take care of that. But the first things first for that secondary location or another location, let's say for committees or whatever the case may be, is just to get that information on and in so I can have that on hand and support the city clerk with processing that. Give me a couple more seconds. I just want to make sure I get my updates out and I'll be ready for you all. In regards to SB 411, just to give some sort of legislative update in regards to that. I know you all are following that as well as we are in the department. And of course, it'll take some time for that reading to go through, right? I'm
going to stop you for a second, Daniel.
Yes.
There are a lot of people that are on the Zoom that have no idea what SB 411 is. So if you want to just give a little summary, that would be great.
Linda, you are the best. I want to say first off, I don't because it's not my Senate bill, but I will try to give a brief synopsis of what I understand it to be, right? So SB 411 is Portantino's bill where he's trying to support neighborhood councils or boards similar to neighborhood councils within the state of California to be able to utilize virtual meetings as we're doing today. The reason why we're able to do this today is because under the AB 361 finding that Bach set forth, they found that under the state of emergency to extend the opportunity for 30 days for neighborhood councils in the city of Los Angeles to be able to meet virtually. That's why we're able to meet virtually today. Portantino bill allows it to be more of a permanent opportunity versus AB 361. Also wants to share that the department did set forth some recommendations in September for virtual meetings as well. So we're almost there, but it's still going to take some time. Did that do any justice, Linda?
And we're going to talk about it a little bit later anyway. So, but it's good to explain what it is for the stakeholders. I just have a couple questions for you, Daniel.
Yes, ma'am.
How many neighborhood councils do you cover?
I cover 7 total.
7.
Yes.
Okay. And as a general rule, and I'm going to put you on the spot, do you usually send messages to just a few or to all?
To all. So to try to give an example of communication, starting with the one I utilize, the site, securing the site location, reaching out and support. That is something that I'm doing. I started today with the information I do have. So I'll email each board individually. Certain communications could go streamlined where I send one email to you all at once. But something like the site location is individual for sure.
Well, I have some information which really, I have to really be clear and candid, irritates me. Because I know that there was an email that you sent out regarding a council file that you wanted some neighborhood councils to support. And I don't believe that that's a good thing for neighborhood council. I'm sorry, for Department of Neighborhood Empowerment to do is to solicit approval of council files. That's up to each neighborhood council to determine whether they want to support it or not. And the basic reason that you were giving was for, let's see, it's council file 20-0990. And you're basically saying, I hope you all support the LA civil rights and empower LA's recommendations. That's not entirely correct. What it's actually doing is giving the general manager control to remove board members whenever the general manager wishes to do so. And that part of the council file is not acceptable to many people. So they don't know the whole story. And I don't believe that in the future, you should make any recommendations for any support or non-support of any council file. That's my 2 cents worth. And we've got some hand raised on other issues. Steve Leffert was first.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to question Osvaldo Ramirez, Tony Cardenas's representative.
Oh, sorry.
Is he still here?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, well, I want to know if Tony Cardenas is going to support HR 82, which affects a lot of seniors who are on Social Security and don't get their full Social Security because they had a government pension in one of 13 states in the US. And I'm one of those people that's shortchanged on my Social Security as a result. And I'm wondering whether or not Tony is going to support HR 22 in Congress this year.
I can take a note of that and I can get back to you. You said HR 22?
82.
HR 82. Yeah, I'll go ahead and
it's the GPOWEP, the Governmental Pension Offset and the Windfall Elimination Provision. That if you get a state pension in 13 different states in the United States, your Social Security is reduced because you're getting a state pension as well, both of which you've earned by, having deductions from your paychecks through the years. And a lot of people won't go into teaching because they won't get their full Social Security for the jobs that they've had for many years because they're going to get a state pension. So it's just an unfair thing for 13 states in the US. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Linda Schwerin.
You're muted, Linda.
There we go. Unmuted. This is for Daniel from Empower LA, and he was discussing meeting locations for NCs, and our NC has just received approval, permit approval from LAUSD for meeting at Galt Street Elementary School, pre-COVID, our regular meeting spot. And they've also provided us with information on costs. So I don't know if that's going to be discussed any further tonight, But Lake Balboa has been approved to return to Galt Street Elementary. We have approval for April through June at this point. That's it.
Great. Jim Stein?
Daniel, I have two questions. One is regarding a meeting space. I sent an email to you, although I don't expect you to answer it immediately or even tonight. But I sent an email to you asking if you could look into a particular place to find out whether that place would be within our area, or whether or not it would be acceptable for us to pursue having that as a potential alternate meeting site. My second question is this: why, oh why, do you want to know what shirt size I wear?
Thank you for that. Thank you. I knew, Jim, I knew that was coming. So to answer your first question, I did receive that email. I just checked my email. I started. So give me some time to work through that. I saw it earlier. I just wasn't sure if it was a question, but you clarified it for me. So I can look into that. And yes, thank you for that wonderful piece. I did send out an email to everyone in regards to your t-shirt size. The department has some t-shirts that we would like to offer you all in terms of just some swag. And if you would like a t-shirt, please fill out that form so we can make sure, or I can make sure I get that t-shirt to you. Sorry, I know that seemed like it was probably like spam mail or something like out of the blue. It kind of was, but I want to make sure I got you all's information so I could get the right shirts.
I thought it was a joke.
Oh, no, serious. Thank you. Other than that, I just want to wrap up by saying, as we know, in regards to SB 411, we are taking it day by day. Due to Bonk's finding under AB 361, you all are actually able to meet in person as well because the state of emergency was lifted as of March 1st, right? I want to be clear with that. You have either or as an option. Currently, right now, under that Bonk finding under AB 361, you are virtual. Again, my recommendation is to be able, you all to continue to meet virtually until we get the site locations in. Come April, right? Let's say at the end of this month, the site still isn't locked in, then we could take the proper steps needed to probably post a cancellation notice, because again, we want to make sure you're able to meet at the location just to prevent any mishaps or injuries or anything like that. So I would recommend you all not meet in person until that contract is signed. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. We've got that covered. Okay, let's go on to item number 7. Our guest speaker this evening is Tony Wilkinson. Tony is from the Panorama City Neighborhood Council, and I've known Tony, I don't know, for about 10 years or so, Tony. And he's also on the executive committee for Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. He's going to speak to us tonight about Mono Basin. And then we'll discuss them and maybe make a possible action regarding the Mono Basin. Tony, welcome to our neighborhood council.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. This is sort of an instant, my gosh, in the middle of everything else, this comes up question that happened to the department, and I guess all to us as water drinkers in the city of Los Angeles. We're all familiar, I think, with the Chinatown story of getting the water rights and building the aqueduct and all that stuff. And that's how we have a live city, is for years that was our main water supply. And I think we're all familiar also with the challenge that a lot of those local folks have been mad ever since. And there are two basic areas up there. There's the Owens Valley, which is the nearest on Highway 395, Owens Dry Lake. And so its dry bed turns into wind-borne dust storms. And so the environmentalist and the air pollution control district, all run by the same local people, made certain that we save enough water to wet down Owens Dry Lake so that we didn't have dust storms. For a while we were every day spending as much water as it would take to fill the Rose Bowl to its brim just to keep the dust storms down. So we've lost huge amounts of water from the main Owens Dry Lake area. However, there's also further north on 395, the really beautiful with the rising tufa and things like that, Mono Lake, which it's a great place. And we, starting in the 1940s, the city also have water right up there and has been taking water from the streams that feed Mono Lake. And that did deplete Mono Lake. So that back in 1994, there was the state decided, look, this is too much. They had a lot of environmental hearings. They figured out what would be necessary to preserve the lake. They issued some rights that limited us, basically took 90% of our water rights in the Mono Lake Basin area. And we're not taking it from Mono Lake. Most of the water comes from the streams that come down and feed Mono Lake, which, like the Salton Sea, is a terminal lake. In other words, it's saline because there's no place for the water to go after it comes there. So we're taking a lot of the stream water before it feeds Mono Lake. But that agreement said that we could take no more than 16,000 acre feet worth of water. And if the Mono Lake came down below another level, then we could only take 4,500 feet. So it has had earlier been down below that level. So we're taking 4,500 feet. But at the same time, and we also early in the 20,000s, 23 or something like that, 2003, had a settlement with all the local parties, including the Mono Lake Committee, that said, this is how we're going to go forward with a set of environmental protections. Spent like $40 million to improve the streams and the lake bed. And the lake has been, since that first ruling and since the 2003 or whenever it was agreement where everybody seemed happy, Mono Lake has been doing very well. It has enough water to protect the islands in the middle of the lake where the seagulls nest from the coyotes who, if the lake rose, could walk across the land bridge and eat the seagull nests, which is that's not true now. There's like 700 feet between the closest island and the coast worth of lake where the coyote would have to swim like 2 football fields just to get to the island. So the seagulls are not in danger. And in the winter is when the lake is at its lowest, because obviously that's after all the summer flows and so on. So we are now have abundant snowfall up there. It's like 200% of normal. And so it's going to guarantee to make the lake even higher by the seagull mating season of March or April. But in December, like when everyone was celebrating holidays and not paying attention, the Mono Lake Committee decided to write to the State Water Resources Control Board and say, we have an ecological emergency. If this isn't, where's the ecological emergency? Everyone is completely dumbfounded here. Well, if it were to the water were to raise higher, then the seagulls might be endangered. And that is an ecological emergency. Well, we have several challenges here. One of the things is the seagulls are not a protected species. They're not endangered at all, even if they were endangered. And the department, and we certainly in the city, don't want them to be endangered. We're going to put up electric fences anyway, just in case this year. But the seagulls themselves are predators for a native kind of plover that actually lays their egg in the salt flats. So the seagulls are not like a harmless set of creatures in Mono Lake. And the local native tribe obviously has a very strong connection with the lake. They actually take their their tribal name from the salt flies. They're actually the salt flies lay their eggs on those rising tufas, and then the eggs hatch and the larvae go just beneath the water, and they eat they secrete sort of nourishment. So the larva can eat that, and that nourishment also washes off, and they collect it as protein. So basically, that's the fly eaters, the local band of Native Americans, of which there are like 80 people left, who are not yet a recognized tribe, but they certainly have an interest in the lake. And so the people who basically are trying to declare an ecological emergency, which is like the Inyo County supervisor leading this and the head of the Mono Lake Committee, which is flush with money, have gone to the native tribe and said, well, if you ever get certified, we have some land we'll give you for $1 for a reservation. But in the meantime, let's make certain that you have a connection. And I want to defend the tribe here. The tribe really was left out of the early negotiations, and they have a lot of things that their interests should be protected as well. And I've urged them to talk to DWP about this, because I know DWP has been really great with the tribes around Owens Lake in terms of listening to and respecting their needs, and having them on their regular online meetings and so forth. So the department is doing its best and has been successful in the obligations in the Owens Lake and the obligations in the Mono Basin area. So this declaring an ecological emergency is basically local folks sitting around in some coffee shops saying, how can we get rid of the DWP forever? And because we're now down to 4,500 acre feet a year, which is still enough for 200,000 people. So and it's all the other lakes in California are in such dire strait, and Mono Lake is one of the great successes. Unlike the Great Salt Lake, which is a terminal lake and going away, unlike the Salton Sea, which is a terminal lake and going away, Mono Lake is it's where it needs to be. It's not as high as it was in 1940s, but it's there for all all the needed life to succeed and thrive, and it's under the protection of our city, DWP, because we're meeting our environmental obligations. But the local people still don't want any water to be taken, so they've declared that there's this ecological emergency. So that's what this is about. They had a February 15th hearing on it. They called it a workshop, a public participation workshop, which was obviously filled with all the people who don't like the DWP and want the State Water Resources Control Board to declare that there is an emergency and to halt all water takings from the Mono Basin area. So we're not taking from Mono Lake, but it's from the Mono Basin that Mono Lake is the terminus of. And even their attorney at the introduction to the workshop expressed, this is the attorney for the Water Resources Control Board, that there probably wasn't justification for an emergency, which is something that could only be put in place for 1 year anyway, if you take an emergency action. And it's obvious that with 200% of normal snowfall, the lake is not going to fall between now and March. And right now there's 700 feet between the islands and where they nest in the shore. So it's not obviously an emergency. So even their attorney said, well, you should at least, if you're going to consider any action to modify your previous agreements, then you should have a full hearing so that the city of Los Angeles can have a full and equal participation in that, rather than invoking a state of emergency. That's their attorney's introductory remarks at this workshop, which is true. So what we've got is a bunch of folks who are, and PR is great. And Mono Lake Committee has been funding school kids all over the city of Los Angeles to come to Mono Lake. And, there's a problem, maybe we should be doing this, but DWP doesn't want to just become a tourist agency with your water ratepayer dollars, But meanwhile, Mono Lake is inviting all these school kids, and when they come up there, they tell the kids how Mono Lake is completely endangered, and it used to be 10 feet higher, and this is a disaster. And so you have all these people in the LA Basin, our community, who will chime in and say, of course, we need to preserve Mono Lake. So this is the kind of situation we're in. Logic isn't being listened to. A lot of these people, the sides in this are, if you're a hardcore environmentalist, you'd say, well, of course they shouldn't be taking any water from Mono Lake. But then you look at how healthy Mono Lake is. You look at the $40 million of stream restoration and all these other environmental projects that DWP has spent in Mono Basin as part of this agreement that we agreed with everyone, including the Mono Lake Committee, who has glowing words for our settlement in 2003.
So Tony, what is it?
Anyway, I'm done with that. I just wanted to share the background of this. So if anything you can do to, by March 17th, you can write to the State Water Resources Control Board and share your opinions. And I did send out an email earlier. I don't know if it made the whole board, Linda, but it was sent to the whole board with a couple of talking points, the place where you would go to send the letter. But this is an area where individual as well as neighborhood council actions are all welcome, because we all drink this water, and it's going to be really, really, really hard for us to replace this water if it's taken. So thank you.
So do you want numbers of people contacting the state, or do we? I didn't see your email, so unfortunately I can't.
Okay. Well, actually, the thing is with neighborhood councils, and I say this in general, you know, for us in Panorama City, I think this is true throughout the state. Yes, community impact statements are really important and helpful. It's part of our power with the city of Los Angeles. It's always great if we can file a community impact statement on anything. This certainly affects city water, so it's within our wheelhouse. The community impact statement, I don't know where we'd put it, LADWP budget, or I haven't looked up the council file where we'd put it, but we basically, or the legislative action file for the city council, we would basically ask the city council to take some lobbyist type action. It's not legislation in this case, it's a regulation, but to ask the city council to actively defend against this emergency proposal. And so that would go to the city, but then you can always take that as an individual and send it somewhere else. It's just technically, as a city agency, we should be addressing our city and what we think our city should do about this city issue, as opposed to sending it directly and addressing it to Governor Newsom. That doesn't mean you and Linda and I can't take that resolution if you guys were decide to do it, attach it to our comment as an individual and send it to Governor Newsom. And so I'm always, and also numerically, look around the room. If only half of your quorum board members sent it, look, that was many more numerical messages. So numbers do matter, even though a community impact statement within the city has more individual weight. So I'm always in favor of people writing on anything you care about deeply as an individual as well as board action. So
Tony,
that's where we are with this.
Okay, I don't see anything from you as far as a recommendation. So
oh dear, because I did send it to the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council email list, lbnc@empowerla.org.
It doesn't matter. I don't have it at the moment. So I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council support the what? I wish I had.
How about that the city actively objects to the attempt to get the State Water Resources Control Board to further limit Los Angeles water supplies from the Mono Basin. Because it's State Water Resources Control Board would act. So this is an attempt. So we're opposing an attempt to get the State Water Resources Control Board to further limit city water supplies from the Mono Basin. So that's the action that we'd like the city to take, to actively oppose this. And
Okay, I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council advise the city of Los Angeles that we actively oppose
the attempt, let's not name the Mono Lake Committee and make them an evil villain, but we'll just say
the attempt
an
just a
attempt
minute,
to get the State Water
to further limit
city water supplies from the Mono Basin. Because they've already taken
city
90%
water
of it away.
supplies from Mono Basin.
Right.
So I made the motion. Does anyone second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Gravani made the motion, Jim Stein seconded. Any further discussion? Is there going to be a range war? Jared?
Yeah, I have a couple questions about this. I mean, the first is, I'm not sure that we as a neighborhood council have any bearing discussing what happens with a water resource that was basically given to the city as a verdict by the Supreme Court in the 1980s. Nor should I think that we should have any discussion or vote on action either way on that. I also think that having any kind of discussion of what happens to that water resource without any kind of interact with the indigenous peoples who have lived there for hundreds of years is wholly irresponsible and incredibly racist to do. I also think that it has nothing to do with our constituents that we represent on a daily basis. And there's no actual intention of what the city benefits from it by us making a recommendation. I also think that to engage in something like this when the state of California can't even decide to make an agreement with the states surrounding it on what to do with the Colorado River is incredibly reckless. So for us to make any kind of recommendation to the city is a horrible, horrible waste of our responsibility and our time.
Tony, where does the water go?
You're in my faucet. The state in the San Fernando Valley, the only water that we can use from outside of Los Angeles comes from the state water project or our own aqueduct. We cannot use Colorado River water because of an elevation problem. Conserve downtown Los Angeles, but not most of the San Fernando Valley. So we're dependent on the state water project. We are currently limited because of the refusal of Northern Californians to build enough storage to only emergency supplies from the state water project. So we are not taking our regular amount, we're only taking emergency supplies. So the only supply we have is the supply from Owens and Mono basins. So this is critical water for us, and the alternatives, even they are saying, well, maybe you could conserve more. But when you look at what all you guys have done in conservation, we are now down like 70 gallons per day. It's the city of Los Angeles has done much better than the rest of the state in terms of our local water use, because what you've done, we've done a lot of conservation. And if Jared opposes this, I honor his belief in opposing it, but I really don't believe that it's correct to say it's not in our wheelhouse, because it's directly our civic Los Angeles city interest in doing this, and he could vigorously oppose the action, but to say that it's not none of our business, I think is just not, the facts don't bear that out.
Any other questions on this? I see your hand is raised, Michael, Daniel but I'd like the board, any other questions from the board? Attendees? Michael Cortez?
Yeah, thank you, Tony, for the background on this. As you were talking, I was reading the LA Times article on this particular item, and I think there is some value to know more about it. I mean, it says that 200,000 residents in Los Angeles, especially in disadvantaged communities, would be impacted if the water resource were to be removed. And DWP potentially may put a cost of $40 million to, for DWP users. So I just feel I don't have as much information. I know you did a great job presenting, but I don't feel comfortable, making a vote on this today, just because I need to dig further and see what other community hearings, public hearings are doing this, and give people like even the tribes an opportunity to speak and others how this would impact them. That's my comment.
Thank you. Ruth? You're muted. Okay, you're good. We're not hearing you clearly, Ruth.
Try. Is that any better?
Yes.
Yes.
It's charging a device. It's not helping, I guess. There's other sources of water for the San Fernando Valley, such as wells, our own wells, many of which need to be cleaned up from Lockheed's contamination and other companies' contamination from years gone by. And there's also stormwater that we need to do a lot more on. So I just want to say there are few other sources, and that's it.
Thank you. James Brown?
I too read the LA Times article that Michael Cortez referred to. At this point, I don't feel as though I have enough information to be able to make a sensible decision on this, only because, as Ruth just pointed out, there are alternatives, but those alternatives have been there for years and not too much has been done about it. On the other hand, I like the opinions expressed by Jared, because I think they are valid opinions. And I think it's something that everybody should seriously consider. And so for that reason, I would not be in favor of this until I get more information. And so I would vote when it's taken as abstaining.
Okay, Daniel?
Thank you for calling on me, Madam President. I want to present this to the board as this is a state issue. I understand that this is a city issue, but the presentation that comes forth to me, as I assume, because I've been here, as a state related issue in regards to writing a letter from the NC to the state will be null and void. Tony, if I may, if you're aware of any council files in regards to LADWP on this issue, any council files and any committees that the board can write a council file or a resolution to those committees, that's where the NC would be able to successfully chime in outside of them being able to speak to the state as individuals. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. So the motion on the floor, at this point for me, I would recommend that there is no motion on the floor, because this is, again, presented as a state issue and nothing as it pertains to the city or the NC to be able to chime in on.
But the Department of Water and Power is within our wheelhouse, and that's exactly where we can send the letter, or we can send the motion that we oppose that whatever we said for the state.
Okay.
So that LADWP is where we get our water. Tony, one last thing and then we'll vote.
Yes, I wanted to also share Linda's view. I recognize that every NEA may have an opinion, but the reality is that this is a core city issue. You can make a community impact statement to a department, board, or commission in addition to a council file. And we are specifically addressing the city in the proposed CIS before you. We're not addressing the state. So it fulfills the attorney guidelines. But I also wanted, my last comment is, because I do chair the memorandum of understanding between all the 99 neighborhood councils and the department, which just got renewed for another 5 years. And I hope you
And by
guys.
department, he means Department of Water and Power.
Right, right. And because it's the only memorandum of understanding with any city department, and it's for openness and transparency. So we realize everyone has a different opinion. You may or may not like one side or the other. I admit I passionately present my own personal opinion on it, but my real purpose in coming here is I think there are lots of things in the Department of Water and Power for both water and energy that should be dinner table conversations in all of our homes. And I don't think it's been adequately brought to our neighborhood councils. So that's really why I'm here. It's not because yes, I would love to have those of you who care write to the State Water Resource Control Board as individuals, because I do think it's important. Or you might write and say that you oppose it because the tribes weren't included in the original settlement. I just want everyone to exercise their rights. But the main thing is people aren't talking enough about DWP issues. And that's the reason I came. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, let's take a vote.
Okay, James Brown,
Abstain?
Michael Cortez,
Abstain.
Ruth Doxey,
Yes.
Jasmine Garcia is not here, Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Drosimich,
Abstain.
Gary Kay,
Abstain.
Danica Middleton's abstaining, Jared Negron,
No.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Yes.
Linda Schwerin,
Abstain.
Jim Stein,
Abstain.
4 yeses, 1 no, 7 abstain.
Motion fails.
Yeah, motion fails. And that was Gravani and Stein, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Daniel?
Thank you. I just wanted to make a brief statement. As the agenda item is showcased on the agenda, I feel like it's served as a state-related issue. At the end of Mr. Wilkinson's last statement, it gave a broader city issue. It was kind of layered. My recommendation, Tony, if moving forward, if you could really hone in on the LADWP and city pieces, I think that would probably flow a little bit better in regards to what you were communicating. Not saying your presentation was negative or anything like that. I think for me to support the group and the emails I have seen, it seemed to be more correlated to the state versus the city. But I do
Okay,
appreciate
thank
the
you.
presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll do more of that in going forward, Daniel, because this truly is about just taking our own positions, whatever they may be, pro or con, on issues that often have been buried because DWP is an independent department and it doesn't come up in the council file system that often.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, number 8, Southern California Gas Company participation hearing. So it's like a town hall. Every 4 years, Southern California Gas is required to file a GRC, application with the CPUC to set annual revenues. So I want to bring to your attention, there are 2 dates, March 6, 2023 at 2 p.m. and March 15, 2023 at 6 p.m. And there is a phone number and a passcode for the webinar if you wish to attend and give your opinion. And I think my gas bill was $20 in October and $680 in January. So I think it would behoove all of us to voice our opinion. It's not an item that's open for discussion, but we can discuss it with Southern California Gas. Number 9, discussion and possible action regarding Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council's open board seats. We currently have 3 organizational seats open and 1 at-large seat appointed. As of the meeting tonight, we have 0 applications. So those seats will go unfilled until the election on June 18. Number 10, discussion of possible action regarding Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council June 18, 2023 election. Again, candidate filing has already started and it will end on April 4. Everyone that wishes to be a candidate, please fill out the filing information. The other dates are on the agenda, so we know when we have to complete whatever. And candidate photo and statement deadline is April 21. So get ready with your 8x10 glossies. Number 11, public comment. Please advise the neighborhood council if you are a registered lobbyist. Please advise the neighborhood council also if you're a Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council stakeholder. Comments from the public on non-agenda items, issues, announcements, and complaints within the jurisdiction of Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. You have 2 minutes per speaker. Again, the state of California Brown Act prevents the board from discussing your comments. You can also email your thoughts to me at lindag@lakebalboanc.org. Thank you. Any public comments? Okay. Let's move right along, shall we? Number 12, board announcements. To the actual board, you're probably seeing in Google Workspace subscription that it's unable to renew. So when you're sending out emails, you'll see that on the top in red letters, it says you need to renew by April 5, I think it says. There was some difficulty using the new credit card with Google Suites. This is not the same thing, Jared, that you were mentioning to me about your emails. I don't know what that is. And I'm just wondering, does anyone else have any issues with emails being sent or received on your Gmail Lake Balboa account? No. Okay. Don't forget, stakeholders are anyone who lives, works, owns property, or community organizations in our community. And FYI, I have requested the flyaway meeting room for our committee meetings. I have not yet received any information back from them on whether the federal government will allow us access to their facility or not for our committee meetings. So at the moment, we're just having Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council meetings live. Gary.
Thank you. I just want to remind the board and our stakeholders that the board previously, over a year ago, voted to post all of our meetings on the website. And to date, I don't know if the ball was dropped inadvertently or by our Rec and Parks chair, our election chair, or whether or not it's our board president, or whether or not it's our communications person who's responsible for uploading that or passing the link on to our webmaster. But we are 2 to 3 weeks overdue with the February 7th Rec and Parks meeting being posted and the February 14th election meeting. Thank you.
Jim Stein?
The agreement was that we would attempt to get those recorded minutes posted. They are not approved minutes because they haven't been voted on. So it's my feeling that not posting them is not an issue.
I don't know that, Linda, I don't know that this is the time for discussion or not, but I would disagree with that. We agreed to post meetings for stakeholders that miss out on them and or board members who miss out on them. It's not a matter of approved minutes or not, and there was never anything in the motion that we voted on with the word attempt to. We agreed to.
Okay, we shall see what we can do for that.
Thank you.
No others? Steve Leffert?
Yeah, going back to the vote you just had about the water issue. What was the vote again?
4 yes, 1 no, and 7 abstain.
Okay, so the abstentions don't count at all. So you eliminate those and your vote is 4-1, and therefore it passes. Because abstentions mean you're not voting, so you don't count it as a part of a majority or anything. Just don't count.
Okay.
So I think you need to change the outcome of that election, of that vote.
Well, that's what I thought, but I figured somebody knew more than I did. Michael?
No, sorry, I don't know, but something
Oh.
else.
Okay, so on number 7, motion carries. We'll send a letter.
And
You have
I
announcements?
No, I just wanted to respond to Gary's because he called out the communications officer in his comments. I am newer to the council, so if there's a policy or a motion, I think it'd be good to share with the rest of the board.
That probably happened before your time,
Yeah.
Michael. Steve, is your hand still up from before? Yeah. Linda Schwerin?
Yes, Steve Leffert is correct. And unfortunately, I should have thought of that before. Had I certainly would have changed my vote and voted no. I don't know that there's anything I can do about it now, but I wish I could.
Motion would have still passed.
Too bad.
Stacy?
Hi, I was actually just going to call for a revote on that because I think there may be, I'm glad that Linda spoke first because I think there may be more than one board member that might, yeah, that might change their vote now that that has been clarified.
I agree.
I think that's a Daniel question.
Actually, the vote was taken.
I was gonna say that if I can on the back end, try to
No,
work.
just hold on a second. The vote was taken. The people that voted yes, voted yes. The people that voted no, and the people that abstained, abstained. And I think we've been around long enough to know if you don't want to vote somehow or other, you don't. You say, no, I don't want to, or yes, I do. And if you want to be in the middle of the road, then you just abstain for whatever your reason is. So I don't agree that we need to take an additional vote. It is what it is. And it's not saying that it's going to change anything. It just means that we're going to move forward as a neighborhood council saying, hey, we would like the DWP to look into this, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to answer any more questions on the vote. If that's what your hand is raised for.
It
Daniel?
is.
Okay, I'm not going to entertain anymore. We're past that. Any more board announcements? Okay, LA City Charter Section 909, Annual City Budget Priorities. Each neighborhood council may present to the mayor and city council an annual list of priorities for the city budget. The mayor shall inform certified neighborhood councils of the deadline for submission so that the input may be considered in a timely fashion. So next is number 13, budget advocates. I don't see Glenn. Is Glenn here? Does anyone see Glenn Bailey?
Linda, he's not here, but he emailed you and the board at 6 o'clock with his update.
Oh.
I think Cindy Cleghorn is here. She's a budget advocate.
Cindy, you want to update us on anything? Welcome, Cindy.
Hi there. Thank you very much. You've been a great meeting. Thank you all. Yes, I am a budget advocate. It's my first time doing this. So the budget advocates are in the process of their various meetings and reports. They're just about wrapped up so that they can go into the report writing stage. And that is a short report.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Very good. And for those that don't know, the reports are very important. We get to hear from the general managers why they can't perform their tasks. And those give us a clue as to what we need to vote on in the future to say, hey, Mayor, maybe we should add some more money here, or maybe we shouldn't do other things. So it's a good thing to keep our eyes open for various things that are happening. Danica, you have your hand raised?
Would you like me to read Glenn's email? It's an
Please.
update. Okay, says, good afternoon, Linda and the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council board members. I always appreciate the opportunity of giving the NC Budget Advocates update during your board meetings, but unfortunately I have an overlapping meeting during which I am assisting with a moderation and timekeeping, and it is expected to last until about 9 p.m. I will plan to join your meeting then if you are still in session. Two of the updates relate to items on the NCBA NC report that was emailed to the entire board at the end of January. The first update was our NCBA town hall on the proposed done budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 went very well, and thanks to those of you who attended. The Zoom recording of the 2-hour session and the slide presentation have been posted on our town hall webpage. Secondly, the budget advocates had their first meeting with Mayor Karen Bass on February 14th, 2023. It was a productive meeting, and there are a few relevant takeaways we will be sharing as soon as possible. We are planning our annual NC Budget Day for Saturday, June 17th, 2023, and we would like the LBNC board members' feedback if you would prefer a virtual or in-person format. In-person would most likely be held at Los Angeles City Hall as it was prior to COVID-19. We are leaning toward a virtual session this year and an in-person session next year. Thank you for consideration. Cordially, Glenn Bailey, NC Budget Advocate, Region 3, Southwest Valley.
Thank you. I guess I don't know if it's time for us to say virtual or in person. We'll think about that. We'll worry about that another day. How's about that? Let's move on. Number 14, land use, discussion and possible action regarding 6839-6845 North Woodley Avenue. And for those of us that have taken the land use training, we'll all understand what these codes are. FCPC-2022-4641-AC-HD-BL-SPR, proposed 3-story storage unit and truck rental facility. That was passed by the Land Use Committee. So I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council support the proposed 3-story storage unit and truck rental facility as proposed in FCPC-2022-4641-AC-HD-BL-SPR, and that the arts development fee be paid at the Department of Building and Safety when permits are pulled and earmarked for use by Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council community.
I second.
Okay, Gravani made the motion. And Danica seconded. And basically, the neighborhood council approved the land use committee approved this project. This project has well, this company that is proposing this has already built a storage unit near the facility. They had been contacted that the lot behind them was available. And they decided, yeah, everybody has too much stuff. Let's build another storage area. And so it's very similar to what we approved previously at other land use meetings. That the zoning changes that were requested are exactly the same as we previously approved. So there was really nothing unusual other than they need an okay. And the part about the arts development fee, there is a 1% fee approximately, depending on the building, that goes into a pot that can be used by the arts development department, or I forget what it was called. But
Cultural
anyway,
affairs.
I'm sorry.
Cultural affairs.
Culture, thank you, Jim. It's not necessarily for residential buildings, but it is for commercial and retail. So we would like for them to, when they pull their permits, pay that money up front so that we get it. Because otherwise they go through all kinds of other things, and as an afterthought in the past, we've never received it. So I've included that in the motion. Linda Schwerin and then Jared.
Yes, my question is, who is the Lake Balboa NC Land Use Chair?
I am sitting in as the land use chair.
Among other things, I see.
Quadruple duty.
Yes, I'm dancing as fast as I can.
Okay, and so do I understand correctly that our land use committee has met on this topic and has already suggested that we move forward?
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jared?
I just wanted to clarify, make sure I have the property correct. It's the one that's there's the U-Haul dealer self-storage, right? And then there's the new extra space storage, and it's that lot basically that's between them that used to be a couple buildings, right? And then it all backs up to basically industrial anyways, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
Thanks.
And in case you're all wondering, yes, they do have enough bicycle parking.
That was my next question.
Any other discussion? Let's take a vote, please.
Oh, sorry, I had a question.
Oh, you do? Thank you.
Sorry, was there any discussion with adding trees in front or any other design elements that look nice as you drive by there?
No, it was more just a large building in the rear, as I remember, in the rear of the property. All the stuff that is in the front stays in the front. There was nothing mentioned about any plants.
Okay, thank you.
Ruth and then Jim?
Thanks. I think we've approved, since I've been on the board, maybe 6 storage units,
lot.
buildings to be built, and I think we have enough in Lake Balboa, and let them build one somewhere else. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Jim?
I was going to try and answer Michael's question. The existing location already has trees and other landscaping, and the new section will continue that design.
Thanks, Jim.
Let's take a vote.
Okay, James Brown,
Yes.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Ruth Doxey,
No.
Jasmine Garcia is not here, Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Jarosevich,
Yes.
Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes, Jared Negron,
Oh, yes.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Yes.
Linda Schwering,
Yes.
Jim Stein.
Yes.
11 yeses, 1 no, motion passes.
Thank you very much. Number 15, land use, discussion and possible action regarding 6435 and 6439 Woodley Avenue. It's proposed 10 small lot subdivision townhomes. There's no zone variance needed. They can build it by right. And they came to the land use committee to ask for our blessing, if you will. And they answered all our questions, and it passed the land use committee. So I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council support the proposed 10 small lot subdivision at 6435 and 6439 Woodley Avenue, Lake Balboa. And that if the arts development fee applies to this project, the fee is paid at the Department of Building and Safety when pulling their permits and are earmarked for the use of Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council community.
Second.
Linda Gravani made the motion. Jim Stein seconded. Discussion. Jeremy.
I just want to say that the actual property is right practically across the street from where I live. The buildings that were there previously were pretty dilapidated and whatnot. So
I'm sorry, but Jeremy, I can't hear you.
you can't hear me?
You're
No.
muffled.
Oh,
It's muffled and your volume's low.
yeah, that's weird. I don't know why it does that. So
Come closer.
Now we can't see you.
can you hear me better now?
Yes, thank
Yes.
you. No, we can't hear you better, but speak softly.
I just the properties right across the street. The previous properties were pretty dilapidated and you know in bit disrepair. So this will be at least an improvement. Most of the properties have expanded as like condominiums or apartments on that particular block. So it does blend well. So I definitely be in support of this.
Thank you. Jared?
I'm really torn on this because we clearly need more housing in Lake Balboa, and we need better housing in Lake Balboa, which I think this is going to provide. And I drive by that. I live right behind it also. So I see it all the time. My concern is, I think, endorsing any more housing that's going to be under what is turning into be quite a contentious battle over these flight paths. People are getting, I think, angrier and angrier about the jet noise and the propeller noise. And I worry that if we sort of give a blanket endorsement to, obviously they can build it anyways, they have the right to. But I think as a council to say, go ahead and build it, everything's going to be fine, don't worry, I think is sort of disingenuous. So I'm really torn on it. I don't know what the right sort of action is to take, because we need it. And I think it's great for the neighborhood. But at the same time, I think we do have to be really honest with whoever is building houses in that specific area specifically. Wow, the redundancy. That specific area is directly under, the runway path. So I'm really concerned for the new residents of just being transparent with them and whoever's building that property, making sure they're transparent with whoever moves in, just to know what they're moving into, and that there is that sort of ongoing discussion with the airport about being good neighbors and stuff like that. That's my concern, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what's required any longer. When I purchased my house here way back in '93, they told me, hey, do you know there's an airport over there? And there was disclosure. So I can't say I'm sure, but I would, well, we can't assume anything, can we? Jim, Steve Leffert?
Yeah, it is actually further away from the runway than some of the other projects that have come up, on streets that are adjacent to the golf course. which would be much closer. And new construction also has better insulation and therefore soundproofing. So it is more than the 500 feet away from the flight path. So I think it's better than something that's built on Valjean, which would be closer to everything. That's all.
One of the things that was discussed at the land use meeting was that behind the property is an alleyway, and you enter the property from Woodley. And we were concerned that if there wasn't a gate at the back of the property, people would cut through to bypass the corner of Woodley and Victory. So we did request that there be some obstacle to not allow that to happen. Because I can see a lot of people, you know, shooting on in and then realize they have to back out into the traffic. Would be interesting. Linda Schwerin, and then Ruth, and then James.
Thank you. I've lived in this area for a very long time, and I know that when I purchased my property, there was a specific listing in the documentation that stated I was in an airport hazard area. And before signing the document, I was to be aware of that. And if I agreed to purchase the property, I knew that I was in close proximity to the airport and what that entails. Now, I am like a block or two west of the airport, which is currently the Propeller Park and used to be part of the Air National Guard. So whether or not this is still a requirement to go on documentation for new property owners before they sign, I do not know. Perhaps someone else here has that information.
Thank you, Ruth, and then James Brown.
Well, I don't remember what we signed or what we had when we bought our house, but I was just wondering if we know if these homes have more sound insulation because it is close to the airport. Was that discussed at all at the land use committee meeting?
No, it was not. And James?
It seems to me, and I would agree with what Linda Schwerin just mentioned, that anyone that's looking to buy a home in that area should be or should have been made aware of the potential hazard in that area. I then go and remember what Jared just mentioned about it being great for the neighborhood and et cetera, et cetera. And I think that all things being considered, this is something that should be seriously considered. And since it was approved by the committee, in considering the comments that have been made, I am of the mind to agree with that as well.
Thank you. Michael?
Did they discuss, is the parking to the building coming off of Woodley, or is it from the back on the other side? Because I know that would be challenging for cars coming in and out of Woodley, you know, with traffic, merging traffic coming in. I looked at a Google map, it looks like most come from the other side or entrances.
The entrance would be on Woodley.
Okay.
And the way the drawing is that currently you can pull right through and go into the alley.
Okay.
And so we just requested that there be a gate which they can, you know, use a remote open close so that people don't, you know, cut through. Jim Stein?
Michael, each unit has a 2-car garage. Does that help?
Yeah, no, yeah, I was
a
just
little
saying
bit?
because Woodley just gets, you know, with the vehicles and then coming in and out, they're going to be coming in and out from Woodley or from, I guess, the alleys. So
I think they'll probably go in and out of both, but each unit has a 2-car garage. And there's the additional parking along Woodley. The way they've been providing parking in the past, That's actually a little bit more than they've been giving us. And it's more than the city requires.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. No more questions? Let's take a vote.
Okay, James Brown,
Yes.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Ruth Doxey,
Yes.
Jasmine Garcia is not here. Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Drosimich,
Yes.
Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes. Jared Negron,
Yes.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Yes.
Linda Schwerin,
Yes.
Jim Stein,
Yes.
12 yeses, 0 nos, motion passes.
Thank you very much. Number 16, Health and Public Safety, discussion and possible action regarding police community partnerships. James Brown.
Okay, thank you. For the sake of time, I will be as brief as possible. Everyone should know by now, because I've spoken about it often enough, to give you brief history with respect to the relationship that LAPD has with the community. More than 30 years ago, as a result of civil unrest, and by Special Order 10, each Los Angeles Police Department division established what is called a Community Police Advisory Board, which provided a platform to allow community members to directly communicate issues and matters of concern directly to law enforcement officials and those that could make decisions in the more timely fashion. As a result of that, West Valley Community Police Advisory Board holds monthly meetings for the community to allow community members to express their concerns and opinions. Every month we hold these meetings where community members can come in, indicate specific instances directly to the brass who can make decisions. And we know that next to neighborhood councils, the Community Police Advisory Board is probably the most powerful instrument that you have, that the community has, in order to get change in our community. Last night, for example, the Community Police Advisory Board, which sponsored the LAFD in providing community training for members of the community, graduated 28 members of the community, people representing Reseda, people representing Tarzana, people representing North Hollywood, not too many from Lake Balboa, unfortunately, but 28 individuals were given the certificate of graduation signed by Mayor Bass, and were presented with cert backpacks and are ready to go to assist neighbors in cases of emergencies. Now, I think that was a terrific thing for them to do. I'm going to try to share this particular screen with you. You know, we've often talked about volunteer community patrol. I've spoken about it on more than one occasion. For those of you who don't know, the volunteer community patrol, I should say, consists of individuals from the communities who have volunteered their time and effort to actually take it upon themselves to be trained by the Los Angeles Police Department in terms of communication, what to spot, patrolling assigned areas where various incidents have been reported, and then to report back to the police so that they can better deploy their forces. We've done this now for more than 5 years. We were the second police division in Los Angeles to establish a volunteer community patrol, and it's something that we are very proud of. One of our members just recently, who had received CPR training as a part of that training, actually saved the life of a 1-month-old infant while on patrol. He was on patrol. A hysteric mother flagged him down, carrying her infant who was not breathing. This patrol member who knew CPR administered CPR to an infant and saved his life. So to say that the patrol members in this case are doing something that is worthy of their time and effort cannot be understated. Right now, we have more than 30 individuals that are members of the volunteer community of the patrol. All they ask is that for an individual to be able to volunteer 4 hours a month, 4 hours every 2 weeks or 8 hours a month to patrol at your leisure. Schedules are posted. You are subject to filling out an application. You are vetted, you are trained, and you can even go on a ride along to actually see if this is something that you'd be interested in doing. We encourage that the community members who might be interested in seeing what this is all about to contact Officer Mark McKeegan, who would be more than happy to arrange for you to actually dig in. For those of you who really want to make a difference in your community to help reduce the amount of crime that's going on, this is something that we highly recommend, particularly now, because right now, as you may know, LAPD is down 900 officers. And by mid-April, that number is going to jump to 1,200 officers. And so they need everyone that is willing to be additional eyes and ears for LAPD to step forward. Under no circumstances do patrol members race through red lights with lights and sirens or anything of this nature. We don't arrest anyone. We don't arrest anyone. And as a matter of fact, the uniforms for the volunteer community patrol initially were paid for by the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. And so this is something that we actually believe in. We've seen the results that it's taking, that has taken place and has benefited everyone. So anyone who is interested in doing this, please contact Officer McKeegan, and that you can see his email below. Okay, next, let's see here. Get one more. Let's see, I don't see it. Yeah. I don't see it. Okay, I was looking. All right, for sake of time, there seems to be not a day that goes by where we don't hear of a mass shooting taking place somewhere in our city, in our state, in our country. To date, there have been more than 67 mass shooting events to date. That's more than 2 months worth of mass shootings. And so what does this tell you? It tells you that mass shootings and people that are committing these mass shooting events, the numbers have increased and people are falling victim to that. And so as a result of that, West Valley Community Police Advisory Board will once again provide free training on how to survive an active shooter event for the community. This will be held on Wednesday, March 8th at the West Valley LAPD Division Headquarters. It's free to the community. We've done it in the past to a packed house. And so if this is something that anyone is interested in, I advise you to please make plans Wednesday, March 8th at 6 o'clock to attend the How to Survive an Active Shooting event at West Valley. It's going to be taught by officers from Operation Valley Bureau, as well as one of the training instructors from West Valley. And it should last no longer than an hour and a half, but the information that you will get from that might quite possibly save a life, maybe even yours. And so with that, and for sake of time, I'll rest my case. Thank you.
And I do want to add, the volunteers do a phenomenal job. It releases LAPD to do other things when they're driving around the community and looking to see what might be strange, something out of place. Your eyes and ears, and we really appreciate all that you do, James. You really are outstanding at this, and I want to publicly acknowledge that. You were actually, I think, in the first class, were you not? The first group?
Yes.
Yeah. And we appreciate that. Thank you. Ruth Doxey and then Linda Schwerin.
What was the time in the evening for that, James?
6 p.m. it begins.
Thank you.
It ends at around 7:30.
Linda Schwerin?
My comment is strictly positive. I've attended one of these active shooter training at the West Valley LAPD, and I'm going to plan on doing it again. It's very helpful, and I think we all know that it's not always far away in someone else. It's better to be prepared.
Absolutely. I attended Community Police Academy many years ago. And I remember one of the police officers said when he goes out with his wife shopping, she looks for the sale rack and he looks for cover. And so that's something that we all have to think about. You know, how do I get out of here? Where do I go? How do I do? And you need to know split second. And it's unfortunate that's the way it is in today's environment. So we can't be too prepared. So it's well worth your time.
And Linda, let me say again, the public is invited. The public is invited, which I know a lot of people will do. Hopefully, people that I'm looking at right now might clear their schedule to provide the time to attend this. You would leave that with a lot of information that would prove helpful.
I was fortunate
Absolutely.
to attend your class, James Brown.
No.
Yes, I did.
I'll
All
be-
right.
I'll be teaching
Ruth,
this
you
one
have
too.
your you have your hand raised. Is it?
Yes, it's, I wondered if James had a flyer for that training.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I will post that. That's what I was trying to share a moment ago. But I do have,
Okay.
Could you send that? And also that sheet on the community patrol, that one sheet that you showed us, that could you send that to the board also?
you bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, James. 17, Rec and Park, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed extension of bicycle path along the north side of the LA River from White Oak to Balboa Boulevard. Jim Stein?
Thank you, Linda. Over the last couple of years, well, we've all known that there's going to be some construction changes made in our Sepulveda Basin. Tom Riley and myself have tried to get a community meeting regarding this. And most recently is June of last year, I tried to get it on the Rec and Park Committee meeting and was told that no decisions have been made. Sadly, I find out that not only had just decisions been made, but bills had been passed. And let me get to the specifics. Presently, there's an intention to build a third additional bikeway at the cost of $196 million from our city budget plus $80 million from Measure M. Now, we already have two bikeways, one along Victory and one follows the Orange Line along Oxnard. This would be for a third bikeway. And if you look at Zemus, you'll see that it's a path.
Through the dog park.
Well, yeah, it's a path 30 feet wide, taking out 23 trees. Additionally, I don't know why Reseda isn't more upset, but I talked to residents over in that area. They plan on taking parts of their backyard by eminent domain. The path would take a considerable amount of the existing parking lot, which isn't really enough as it is. Our dog park is an asset to our community. It's the best dog park in LA City and considered so because of the natural shade of the trees. The problem is, additionally, not only taking the parking, that would become a hub for the bikers, and the dogs would be chasing the bikers, and you know, the whole thing is just a bad idea. And it's really annoying that when you go into this and look, you find out that someone along the line said that, oh, the community and the stakeholders are really behind this, but we never had an opportunity for any public comment, and I don't think that's right. Of course, as we all know, dogs that chase bicycles and be injured and so forth. That's something that has to be considered. And why even spend any money on an additional third bike path when we already have one? Even if you don't have a dog, you'd have to say to yourself, it's a waste of money, and one that we never had an opportunity to speak about. It's quite possible the dog park will be closed during the duration of this construction, and it's the only dog park in the West Valley. The farmers market over One Generation is also, they haven't been told, but the construction, if you look into it, has them giving up a considerable part of their land as well. And they swear that's not going to happen, but then all you got to do is look at the plan to see that. There's a number of people who are watching tonight. We have a number of meetings scheduled to discuss this. The plan was the motion to put this plan that was passed was introduced by Bob Blumenfeld and seconded by our former council person, Nuri Martinez. When we try to make questions regarding this, we're told, oh, the dog park isn't in our area, so they don't want to talk to us, basically. We're just trying to get an opportunity to get some public comment on this. I called the other day over to CD6, and the young lady who answered the phone told me if I wanted public comment, I should drive down to LA and go to city council meeting. That, if you want to see this path, you can go to Zemus and you can see it. It's shocking, really.
People don't know what Zemus is.
Oh, I'm not sure what the ZIMAS stands for, but it's the city link so that you can isolate and see specific areas within the city.
It's actually great. It's a grid of all the city streets. You can even see your own home if you have the APN number or the address. And if you would like to do that, you go to www.zimas, I have it right here.
ZIMAS.
ZIMAS, thank you, .lacity.org. I know it so well. Then you click on agree to the rules and regulations, and you can put in your APN number for your own home or your address, and then you can see your city street. It's really great. You can see lots of information about proposed buildings and building permits and things for specific properties. Jim, do you want to make a motion, please?
I'd like to make a motion, or did you want to listen to the?
No, I want to make a motion so we can discuss it.
I'd like to make, right now, the only thing that's holding this up is the fact that it has to be approved by all the different engineers and so forth. So there's a council file and it's called 22-0247. It's a mitigated negative declaration certification. It has to do with an environmental review. I'd like to make a motion that we vote against. We're not in favor of this council file.
I second.
Okay, Jim Stein made the motion. Danica seconded. And Jim, I've got item number 17 and number 18 is that council file. Are you combining the two?
Well, that's why I wondered if you want me to wait. But yes, I guess we are.
Well, does 22-0247 have to do with number 17?
22-0247 is the mitigated negative declaration that I just spoke of.
Which pertains to number 17.
Yes, it does.
So we're combining that.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so Lydia, this is going to be a little confusing. So that was just a background. Number 18 will be the motion. Correct, Jim?
You'd
The
like me to make
motion
the
will be
motion?
on number 18.
Motion is number 18.
Okay, is there, Danica, you're good with that?
I got it.
Okay, Lydia?
I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, discussion. Michael?
So I'm a big supporter of different various transportation modes of transportation, and I really believe that this bike path would be something very good for the community. You know, I agree. I think community input is very important, and I did read that they did do some community input back in 2021. I think that bikes, there are folks that use it for recreation, but they also use it to get to work. And I know that they've done some work around that area to provide safe routes for bikers so that they don't get hit and they can go collaboratively while people use their vehicles. So I find this as a safe avenue for bikers and getting people to use it. We just had Ciclovia in the San Fernando Valley. And so more people are using bikes on our streets. And so I personally support it.
Thank you, Jared.
Can you hear me okay? Sorry, I switched
Yes.
my thing. I agree with Michael. I'm especially in LA when we do not do enough.
For for alternative modes of transportation, we are far too car reliant. I myself am far too car reliant. But I think for this particular bike path, I think they've stepped way out of bounds. I had done a little bit of learning on this one as well. What I would love to see is us to definitely submit a CIS, you know, I think rejecting this council file, but also along inside of that CIS, you know, or potentially, you know, saying we don't support it as it stands currently, but potentially supporting it with modifications so that we can do a bike path if it's modified in a way that, you know, doesn't hurt the dog park, doesn't hurt, you know, the other institutions that we have, you know, that would be affected, like the farmers market, like the other spaces, like the, you know, the parking that we do need there for people when people go do things like their activities on the weekends there. Any way we can combine the two needs, I think would be much more effective. And in order to do that, I think they need the input from councils like ours and from our neighbors, which I think was largely ignored in this process.
Thank you. Danica? You're muted.
Can't hear you, Danica.
Jared pretty much summed up what I was going to say.
And Jim, isn't this the 19 or almost 20 miles that they want from Canoga Park to Long Beach?
Well, they want to do the whole thing eventually. This section is just from Van Alden to Balboa. Again, at a cost of $196 million from the city budget, plus $80 million from Measure M. And all I really want to do, I'm hoping and praying that they'll at least allow us to get some public comment on this. And, you know, possibly, as Jared said, find another way of resolving this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what public comment is all about. And I think they overlooked us.
And there's 9 dog parks within the city of Los Angeles. The Valley has this one.
Right.
Right.
So when you think about taking away most of the park and the parking and the trees for a bike path, which is important, but there is a bike path. There is no other dog park. Carol?
To the extent this is going to use eminent domain, I would be very much against it. They shouldn't have to do that to build public projects. So, you know, I support the concept. In other words, I'm against this project.
Mm-hmm.
Danica, you had your hand up and then down.
I'm good.
Okay, okay, now, Steve Leffert.
Yeah, I tried going to the link that's published in the agenda on item 17, and it comes up as page not found. So I
Okay,
tried doing it without spaces and adding underlined space between the last parts of it, but I can't get anything to come up to show what it is that the engineering department has got going.
I think you'll, I think you'll be able to find it, if you go on to,
Council file.
The liberty. I took the liberty to share. This is what the, this is the engineering file. It's very big.
thank you.
And it goes on for several pages. Yeah, I mean, it would take a long time just to look at all the, everything that's in here.
And that's under engineering, eng.lacity.org.
Yes, that second link in the agenda.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And is that last part of it, I mean, where it says SBVP, then has a space, community space, meeting space, one space, presentation?
Oh, Steve, the
spaces
spaces,
in URL.
they're probably underlines.
Yes,
not
and I
space.
just tried doing that and it still comes up as page not found.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Miriam?
Okay, hi.
Hi,
First of
Miriam.
all, some of it's not totally accurate, but what we were in CD6 under Nuri Martinez, I believe we were denied that input. The neighborhood council here was, it was not run through the neighborhood council. The plan, I just sent the link to Jim. It's not really a vision plan, a project. It is, it was approved before the vision plan. The vision plan is getting a lot of input for what they're doing. But this project, they don't want to hear about it because it has been approved. It's been funded for the most part. The last step, I think, is this environmental study. There is a Knock LA article that talks about backroom deals that Nuri made. One of them was to hire without bids the geosyntech contractor that is doing the vision plan. Ruth put in a motion in December to not fund them. Many other organizations did also. And the answer to that was, it's too late. So we had a council member that resigned in disgrace that kept this from the community. So we now want our CD or who is running it, and Jonah, I'm sorry, you're going to be the person that talks to this. We want them to support that now we have a voice, because there are a lot of things. Their dogs jump fences. They're going to put back the chain link fence. Dogs will jump that in an instant. The amount of land, they're doing an amazing thing, and I'm not against bike paths at all. I agree, Los Angeles, like Victory Boulevard, that bike path is one of my favorites. This is really a mile that looks like that it connects after with the Victory path and runs into Oxnard after a mile. So they are spending multi-million dollars to run this, and then our inadequate parking to mix our parking with a dog park, and they'll have access, so they'll be rolling their bikes through the parking lot with the dogs. Dogs chase anything with wheels. We have seniors that are going to be either pulled over by their dogs, their dogs are gonna chase these bikes, and the people that own these dogs, they're gonna be responsible because they are responsible for their dogs. But we're mixing, we're tempting fate. They're doing this great thing off of the bike path, the wash, and they're going around so bikers don't have to go on the street, and it connects with Victory, and then they're going to put in a pedestrian path on Victory, and they're going to spruce that up. So they're already doing that. And then there's the one on Oxnard, which a lot of bikers really like that one. Now we're going to put a third with a pedestrian path, with the bike path, with landscaping on the wash. Now we sit in the park and we see the south side, which they're using for the other part, it has one tree. It's got a baseball field. We watched the equipment being burnt up, set on fire, because there are a lot of homeless there. It would be very easy to maybe look at the plan and decide to do that. It'd be very easy to actually not do this, save a lot of money for that mile, and put it into making the other two paths very viable for the bikers and make everyone happy.
Time.
But we have
Time.
not had a chance to have that input.
Time.
Okay, Jonah has his hand raised. Jonah?
Thank you, Linda. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to weigh in very briefly. I am in touch with the Bureau of Engineering to try to figure out more about what our options are here. The item has been approved by the City Council. The most recent vote was taken when CD6 did not have a council member. So I understand a lot of the community frustration here. One small correction that I wanted to make is that Geosyntec, the group that is running the vision plan effort, was chosen through a vetted bidding process. Other groups such as the River Project applied to this RFQ, which went out and was scored by the Bureau of Engineering with no involvement from CD6. I myself would have probably been one of those people involved, and I had no involvement with the selection of Geosyntec. So I understand I'm not here to defend my former boss, but I do want to correct the record regarding the Basin Vision Plan. And just let everybody know that I'm continue to advocating for solutions on this and trying to bring these community concerns to the Bureau of Engineering for this Van Alden to Balboa bike path expansion. I want to be mindful of everybody's time, but I just wanted to provide that quick clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonah, tell me, if we were to write to the city attorney saying that we didn't have a voice, that we might need to, I don't know, figure out something else or get the city attorney involved. She used to be on the neighborhood council, not ours, but a neighborhood council.
I'm not sure, but that is something that we can discuss.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We have a couple other hands. The board members, I'll get back to you. I want to get the attendees right at the moment. The next one would be Betsy. Come on over, Betsy.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Okay, thank you very much. So I've written what I'm gonna say, just for expediency.
Thank you.
I truly believe in a bike path. I've biked everywhere most of my life until I got too old, actually. However, as Miriam said, this intends to remove at least 23 trees. It may be more, plus greenery, plus native plants. There is a required mitigation statement, and it's an environmental mitigation statement that lowers the significant environmental impact if and only if all mitigation actions are implemented. To say, proponents have said there is no significant environmental impact is misleading and it lacks transparency. As I read the environmental impact report, and there was like 125 pages, it was clear that there's a significant environmental impact without mitigation actions to reduce this significant effect. With serious and damaging and even life-threatening climate change upon us, it is inappropriate to proceed with a project that inherently damages our flora and fauna and further disrupts our environment. In addition, and this is the big kahuna, in addition, we have the only dog park in this area in the San Fernando Valley. We'll lose at least 30 feet with the bike path abutting the dog park. This presents a serious issue of trauma to dogs for whom the park is their only safe means of exercise. Disruptive construction, foot traffic, bicycles, skateboards, etc., can present such trauma to normally calm dogs that it can not only be terrifying to them, but it also has the clear potential to alter their behavior and trigger aggression. And we all know the domino effect of that. I ask that this project be set aside and be closely assessed by environmental scientists and planners who have no connection, direct or indirect, to those who promoted and approved this folly. We need a bike path, but we need alternatives. I further ask that
Time.
I have one sentence.
Okay, all right, Jim.
I further ask that the adjacent alternatives for a bike path extension be evaluated and considered. Lastly, this is an issue that should have transparency and should be presented to the citizenry for discussion.
Agree.
That's it.
Thank you. Betsy, would you mind sending me your speech? My email is under my name.
I will.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Debbie?
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I don't have a prepared speech. I am, a citizen in the West Valley in Encino here. I've used the dog park now for the last year. It's. I just want to go from like a human point of view. This is not only a socialization for dogs. You have a lot of elderly, diverse group of people, elderly, young, middle-aged. They also socialize there. We want to talk about the bike path and the exercise, and you have a lot. I see the same people every day just walking the park, getting exercise with their dog. So not only are the dogs utilizing it, but the owners are also. So it's a community-based place. And if it gets shut down or if it gets moved around or something happens to this dog park, you're going to lose a big chunk of community, of that socialization, of that getting out together and exercising, enjoying the fresh air and whatnot. So I just kind of wanted to put that spin in there also. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sharon Brewer?
I'm talking to the screen saying you have to unmute me.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi. Basically, aren't there two different things? The agenda item goes about the community meeting for the vision plan. I thought that the other thing is the LA bikeway path that's by the dog park. So I thought there were two different things that we're talking about. And I know that the document for the bikeway is a whole lot of pages too, which would be nice if there was a way of finding out which is just pertains to the dog park. But I think we're in this stuff that it's kind of mixing stuff. And as far as I know, there were meetings in Tarzana, Reseda, west of White Oak. And the people, there was no eminent domain. The people were just mad because they didn't want the bike path to open up onto their dead end streets that could let in possibly undesirables and stuff. But there were many of meetings that they had on there because I went to them. And some people actually ended up moving because they just were afraid what might happen. But that's, you know, over on the west side of White Oak that I know. But my thing is we've got like two different things. And I'm not sure that the vision plan has the dog park in it because I didn't go to the community meeting, but maybe there's a way of clarifying it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Dana?
I can clarify it.
Hi. I just wanted to emphasize, you know, with Miriam and others were saying about the dog park. I mean, I live near the dog park and I see a lot of seniors in the neighborhood who bring their dogs there. And, you know, it's very difficult for the seniors to be able to walk their dogs, and the dog park provides that opportunity for their dogs to get exercise. And as for me, as a dog lover, you know, it's like my husband who has a mobility issue. You know, it's hard for him to be able to walk our dogs. So he likes going to the dog park and walk at his own pace while our dogs can, you know, run, you know, and we have leashless. They love to run. And my husband cannot keep up with them, you know, if he was to walk. So the dog park provides that opportunity. Now, I'm also an outdoor person, you know, I love bike riding and things like that, but dogs and bikes do not mix well. And so we need to make the park or I should say, we should keep the park safe for our senior citizens so that they do not have to deal with people riding their bikes and their dogs, because although my husband is a big man, strong person, if my dog was to see a bike, somebody riding a bike like that, he pulls really hard and he's going to knock my husband over. And so I'm just speaking from my personal perspective, and I can say the same with the other senior citizens. So we don't want to provide opportunities for accidents to happen. And so I just wish that the bike path could be another way of doing it for the bike path. And in regards to the parking, you know, parking at the dog park can be very stressful, because especially on, you know, on the warm nights that parking lot gets crowded. And now that we're going to have to share that parking lot with bike riders, I don't think it's fair. And I was thinking, why can't the bike riders use the parking lot at the Orange Metro line, Balboa? That's a huge parking lot right there where the bike riders can park their car there, and you know, there's places for them to lock their bikes or whatever. So I don't see why we're using, or why the city is considering using the parking lot in the dog park, because that's a small lot and not sufficient, you know, to include the bike riders to park their cars there like that. So I just wanted to give my 2 cents in, and you know, I think the dog park needs to be kept as it is. I mean, it needs some improvement, but we should not decrease the size of it. We should keep it. Personally, I like it because the large dog park, that side is like the size of a football field. And I do laps around that thing with my dog. And so I would like to keep doing my walks there if possible.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Tony, you've not had a chance to weigh in, and then I think we should vote, because I think we understand what the issues are. Tony?
As a fellow victim of our former council person making all these land use decisions inside her own office and with inadequate community input, I wanted to say I am really with Jared on this. I do believe in bike lanes, but I think his tactic is absolutely spot on, because this is saying, oh, there's no need to do an environmental review. But if you oppose the mitigated negative declaration, which sounds great, but basically is saying, we're not going to do anything about the environment. You do two things. You force an environmental review, which slows the process down. And secondly, the environmental review has to have alternatives. That gives Jared and everybody else a chance to say, wait a minute, a park, let's say a bike path that bypassed the dog park before it went down to the river might be okay. But they're doing like a strip park for all this, and that's the reason they're taking so much land away. The best tactic to me is Jared's proposal to vote no on the mitigated negative declaration, because then you get the time, you get an alternative, and there's a chance to rationalize the bike path. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we can, I'm sure, talk about this all evening, but we're going to go for a vote.
Can I just say one thing very
No,
quickly?
I think we know what the issues are. I think we understand. The bottom line is that the motion is that we do not support this. What I would like to also recommend is that I will send a email or a letter to the city attorney and see what we can get going with that thought process, because it's not in the community's best interest. So let's take a vote.
I would like to just clarify a couple of things.
Can we restate the motion?
No, really, the motion is that we don't
We
support.
waited 2 hours.
It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I do understand that. I do understand that, but we understand what the issue is. The motion on the floor is that we do not support. We've heard both sides that we like to bike ride and we need the dog park. So let us vote. Danica, you're muted.
Okay, James Brown.
Yes.
Oh, can we clarify the motion? Sorry, I'm just trying to
The
understand.
motion is that we do not support Council File 22-0247. It's on here. It says motion, I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council not support the final MND Council File 22-0247. So when you say yes, you're in support, that you are not supporting.
Thank you.
Okay, Michael Cortez,
No.
Ruth Doxey. Ruth Doxey.
If you're saying yes, you're not supporting.
Oh, right.
Wait, yes,
We're not supporting.
Yes means you do not support the council file.
correct.
Okay, so Ruth, your vote?
Yes.
Jasmine Garcia is not here. Linda Gravani,
Yes, I do not support.
Lydia Jarasimich,
Yes, I don't support.
Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes. Jared Negron,
Yes.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Where are you?
Jeremy,
Abstain.
Linda Schwerin,
Yes.
Jim Stein.
Yes.
10 yeses, 1 no, 1 abstention, motion passed.
Thank you very much. Okay, number 19, discussion and possible action regarding SB 411, Neighborhood Council virtual meetings. This is the, what is this? This is the Senate bill that is in the state at the moment, and it is that neighborhood councils would be able to, if they decide to Zoom forever, or have Zooms occasionally and in person occasionally, it will give us the choice. So I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council forward a resolution in support of SB 411, which would allow neighborhood councils to hold virtual meetings indefinitely.
A second.
Second.
Okay, Gravani made the motion, James Brown seconded. Discussion. There is a council file 23-0002-S like Sam 16 and S like Sam 17. The 16 was a city council file that said neighborhood council should be able to meet virtually forever. And then 17 was that other entities as well. So we've already taken a vote that we support this. This is just a resolution to the state to say we're behind this. We agree with it. We can forward that resolution because we already voted locally. Linda Schwerin?
Yeah, clarification, please. This motion indicates continuing with virtual meetings. It does not say, it says may. That means that we do not necessarily need to meet virtually alone in the future. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Let's vote.
James Brown,
Yes.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Ruth Doxey,
No.
Jasmine Garcia is not here. Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Gerasimich,
Yes.
Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes. Jared Negron,
Yes, sorry.
that's okay. Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Yes.
Linda Schwerin,
Yes.
Jim Stein.
Yes.
11 yeses, 1 no, motion passes.
Thank you. Just a comment here, the April meeting will be in person unless SB 411 or similar is passed by California state government. Just as another FYI, if we are in person, we do need to meet at 7 p.m. Meet and greet is 6:30 to 7, and we set up the room. Ruth, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I'm leaving the meeting. Thank you, everybody. And for the record, I'm for all the other items on the agenda.
Okay. With the secretary show at 9:08 p.m., Ruth Doxey has left the building.
Hi, Ruth.
Thanks, Ruth. Appreciate it. Okay, number 20, budget discussion and possible action regarding the January 2023 MER. Linda Schwerin.
Thank you. The January monthly expenditure report, MER, was provided to the board, and everyone should have a copy of this, indicating all funds that were spent during that month. I would like to propose a motion to approve the January 2023 LB&C MER.
Second,
Who was that?
Jim Stein.
Okay, Linda Schwerin made the motion. Jim Stein seconded. Discussion? Let's take a vote.
James Brown,
Yes.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Ruth Doxey left the meeting. Jasmine Garcia is not here. Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Gerasimich,
Yes.
Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes. Jared Negron,
Yes.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Yes.
Linda Schwerin,
Yes.
Jim Stein.
Yes.
11 yeses, 0 nos, motion passes.
Thank you. 21, budget. Discussion and possible action regarding the financial status of committed funds versus spent. Linda Schwerin.
Yes, thank you. The Lake Balboa Budget Committee met on February 25th and reviewed the items that were presented here today, which is all categories for the current budget, both money spent and those committed. The review of the sheet eliminated committed expenses that will not be completed before the end of this fiscal year and reevaluated the balance. The balance would be that we are in the plus for all budget categories with the exception of outreach, and that was adjusted in a proposed amendment to the budget that you will see in the next item on the agenda tonight. The only thing that I can tell you that would be different from what was proposed is the fact that there have been additional election expenses, and that brings through the end of February the 28th. With the additional expenditures between February 15th, the date of the sheet, and February 28th, that the balance in the election category of our current budget is $10,453 out of $12,500. So a notation I'm going to give to you is that all of the items that were considered here on expenses versus commitments all were taken into consideration before the budget committee reviewed and made any potential budget revisions to our current budget. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, so with that knowledge, we move on to number 22, budget. Discussion of possible action to revise the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council 2022-2023 budget. Linda Schwerin?
Aren't we having fun?
Yep.
Okay, so with regard to this item, the Lake Balboa Budget Committee met and reviewed everything that was on the previous expense commitment sheet, made modifications, took into consideration expenses through the end of this fiscal year, ending in June, and the proposed revised budget has been provided. I don't know if anybody wants to screen share, or do we need to, or do you just want me
I
to
was just going to
read?
say, should we put this on the screen for participants?
I think that would probably be a good idea, and then we can.
Are we showing, do you want the revised or the previous budget?
The guys would be probably the better.
Revised budget is fine.
Okay. All right. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes. Okay. And while you were doing that, so by looking at what you see on your screen, you will see that we have our original $32,000, $10,000 rollover, a total of $42,000 in the current budget. If we can scroll down just a little bit, okay. What you're looking at now is the office and operational expenditures category. And we find that the office and equipment supplies have gone up. You'll find that PO box rent has gone up. I'm just going to run through this very quickly with you. Refreshments and snacks have been increased based on the fact that we will likely be meeting in person between April and June. And if we can scroll down just a little more, okay. You will see that under public storage, which is the last item in this operational category, the item of $5,650, that was increased due to a rental increase that went into effect in February. So that covers us through the end of June. So our office and operational expenses are cataloged. If you can go scroll up just a little bit more. I'm sorry, down. There we go. $15,900 for operations and expenses. And if we can go on to the next page. All right, this covers outreach, and you'll notice there's no detailed listing on the line items here. Neighborhood councils are not allowed to do line item entries on outreach. Those are things that will be presented to neighborhood councils and approved individually. So what you see here is all outreach between now and the end of June, $8,600. Next is election expenses. Our current budget is $12,500, and the budget committee reviewed that and determined that $12,500 should be retained. So if you'll go on to the next, okay. NPGs originally were $3,000. That was increased to $5,000, taking into account money spent and potentials between now and the end of June. Community improvement is $0. And if we scroll down a little bit more, okay, here you'll see the revised budget, which indicates elections remaining the same, a slight increase in operations, an adjustment to outreach, neighborhood purposes grants, which is the second item from the bottom of what you see on your screen, is $5,000, totaling $42,000, which is our fiscal budget through the end of June 2023. So these items have all been reviewed by the budget committee, voted on and approved, and the recommendation is for the neighborhood council to accept this proposed revised budget for the balance of the year. Yes, I do. I make a motion that Lake Balboa approve a revision to the budget of the 22-23 fiscal year.
Gravani seconds. So Linda Schwerin made the motion, Gravani seconded. Discussion. Michael?
Just a quick question. If an amendment needed to happen between now and before the end of the fiscal year for like NPG grants, could that be made if we find more community organizations that, we could? Oh, Tony's saying yes, so, okay, thank you.
Well, my answer to that would be yes, we could, but that would entail making a revision that would require a deduction or reduction in the other categories we just reviewed.
Makes sense.
But it's possible, yes.
Thank you.
Jared?
Similar question. This may not be the proper spot to ask this question, so I'm going to defer to you. But I guess as we move forward on the budget, like for future times, how can we try to reduce our operational expenses a little bit? Because there's some stuff in there that feels like we should be looking maybe for other additional estimates or areas where we can maybe cut costs in those areas, like whether it's the messaging or the storage. Now that we know there's like 50 storage units or storage buildings in Lake Balboa, maybe we can start looking for other quotes.
Well,
just other areas we might be able to reduce costs.
I can respond to that by saying that
what's the process?
Our messaging is 250 dollars a year. That's like $16.50 a month. What we're spending a great deal on is, and what we just showed you was meeting facilities, $600. And this actually is going to be through the end of June. Normally, were the council meeting in person 10 months out of the year, you can figure, let me see, and that would be in the thousands of dollars because it is now about $500 per month. I mean, 500, excuse me, let me rephrase, $500 per quarter. So that's what, $2,000 a year. It's not reflected here because we were not meeting in person, but that part of operations is expensive. Minute takers are fixed. We need that. Our virtual Zoom meetings may go up or down. We do not know. Refreshments and snacks may go up or down. That depends on our in-person meetings. And public storage, which is now included in this budget revision as $5,650. That's a hefty amount also. So you can figure, based on what you said, Jared, we are doing, if we don't get a rollover, operations and office expenses are between 40 and 50% of the council's budget. And some councils actually have their own meeting space and they pay monthly as a lease expense. So in response to what you're saying, after expanding on this, could Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council find a permanent place to meet that would be less expensive than what we're spending now for public storage and meetings in person at LAUSD? Perhaps. And that's something that I would suggest perhaps we research, but this is what's fixed between now and June. Did that?
Yeah,
I know that was long-winded, but did it help?
Yeah. Yeah, just trying to understand a little more because when you look at
Absolutely.
it, it's like, oh my God, so much money.
You're right. It seems like a lot of money. You're right.
I think what we need to do is we need to go back to the city council and tell them we want our $50,000 back as opposed to the 32.
Oh, well, that would be absolutely wonderful.
Well, that's the way it should be. That's what we had. And with the cost of everything, we should actually get it to 75, if you ask my opinion. But anything can be changed. The budget is just an idea of what's going to be spent. And it can be changed. Like we say, it can go up, it can go down, it depends. And yeah, we can always look at it and see if there's a better way of doing things. No problem. So we have a motion. Can we, Daniel, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify if there was a vote on the floor.
Yes, there.
So the discussion already happened. I wanted to make sure we followed the process and
Yes, the discussion did happen. Linda Schwaring made the motion. I seconded.
Danica.
I was probably asking out of turn.
No. You need to know what's going on. And
Okay,
the more
let's
you know,
take
the
the
better
vote.
you vote.
Let's
Okay,
take the
James
vote, 'cause
Brown.
time is
Yes.
going.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Ruth Oxley left, Jasmine Garcia not here, Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Drosimich.
Yes.
Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes, Jared Negron,
Yes.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Yes.
Linda Schwerin,
Yes.
Jim Stein,
Yes.
11 yeses, 0 nos, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 23, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council 2023-2024 budget. I asked Linda Schwerin to put this budget together because it has to be in for the 1st of July, so the end of June. not knowing where we're going to meet, when we're going to meet, how we're going to meet in the future, I felt better be prepared that we can spend the money for our regular expenses rather than find out we can't. So that's why it's on the agenda now, and then we're done. It can be changed when the new board takes seat in July, if they need in July or August. But I like to be prepared. So Linda?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you for having this. Ooh, so nice to put this up on the screen. Thanks. Okay, Linda is absolutely right. Our council does not meet typically in July. July is when the city of Los Angeles, the city clerk would like us to turn in our administrative packet for the new fiscal year, and that, of course, includes the budget. So we're doing an estimated budget now, and as Linda Gravani said, things will change. It may go up, it may go down, but these figures are based on loosely on the estimate of what we have now versus the fact that we will hopefully be meeting in person and be dealing with a total budget in fiscal year 22, I'm sorry, rephrase, fiscal year 23, 24 of only $32,000. We have no information at this point in time that there will be any rollover funds. So using current funds effectively and taking into account there's no rollover, we can slowly scroll down here and see what is listed in detail and operations. And if we can go a little more, okay, you notice that operations went up, outreach went up to 10,390. Elections are zero. And that is why we were able to make the estimated adjustments in other areas. We're still keeping an estimated 5,000 for neighborhood purposes grants. And if we can, nothing scheduled for community improvement. So if we look at the bottom line here, you can see what we have for operations, outreach, 5,000 for NPGs, nothing for community improvement, and nothing for election. The big difference is there's nothing listed here for elections, and that those funds were put into other categories. And considering that there will be no elections that particular year and only $32,000 for us to work with.
You want
So,
to make a motion, Linda?
all right, everybody has the information, so I move that Lake Balboa NC approve the draft budget for fiscal year 23-24
As
in
presented.
the amount of 32,000 as provided this evening.
Second.
Linda Schwering made the motion. James Brown seconded. Is there discussion? Let's vote.
James Brown,
Yes.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Jasmine Garcia is not here. Linda Gravani,
Yes.
sorry. Okay, Linda Gravani, yes. Lydia Drossman, Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes. Jared Negron,
Abstain.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Yes.
Linda Schwerin,
Yes.
Jim Stein.
Yes.
10 yeses, 0 nos, 1 abstention, motion passes. Who seconded the motion? I'm
I
sorry.
did.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the next item, I have something with regard to budget and funding that I think would be very important to provide to board members and stakeholders before we continue.
It's on the agenda.
What's in reference to?
Okay, it is with regard to the budgets that we have approved and the funds that are available. Currently, do you want to have information on what is still available in the budget election category, as we discussed in commitments versus expenditures? Because this is going to have an effect on what we're about to vote on.
Well,
May I say?
Didn't
is
you
not
do that
included.
during the item number?
Well, I had hoped to, but since we have spent additional funds in the election category, and as I mentioned earlier in item 21, the balance in the election category of the current budget is $10,453. In the next item, you'll find that there is a large amount that is proposed for elections. And then continuing on down in the agenda tonight would be a consent calendar. My comment would be as follows, that taking into account the upcoming item plus the consent calendars, it would make the election budget more than what the council has approved. So you might want to take that into consideration now. That's all.
Can you repeat those figures? I'm looking at the February 15th expenses versus commitments. Is that where you're going off of?
Yes, the one that you have is the February 15th. And as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to look for my sheet. Well, now, of course, I put it away.
Great.
$10,453.
Okay, so that is what is remaining out of 12,500. 10,453. Now, we're considering in the next future motion a funding motion of 6,000, and then in the consent calendar, those items that relate to election come to a total of 7,750. So
Okay,
I'm asking the board to keep this in mind because there's a $6,000 motion coming up in number 24.
okay, let's work on it. You've
So-
given us the information.
Yes, just so you have the information and you're aware.
Okay.
I think
so
I'm
number-
looking, am I looking at the wrong sheet? Because the sheet I have shows 10,281 available funds,
That
785.
is correct. That is correct, but that was effective the 15th, and then Linda has it till the end of the month. So it's
Correct.
it's minimal.
Yeah,
Okay.
it changed slightly.
Okay, so number 24, funding, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of up to $6,000 for Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council election banners. Jim asked that it be put on the agenda, and I put it on as exactly as it was. I did not include it in the consent calendar because it's a lot of money. Jim, you want to make a motion?
Every couple of years, we have an election in our neighborhood council, and as you can see, we got a lot less people. What I've done with the election is try to separate this thing into two phases. The first phase, to be looking for candidates. The second phase is actually voting for those candidates. We have a meeting every month. I'll have another meeting in about a week and a half, well, 2 weeks. And every step along the way, I'm asking folks or proposing to folks what we should do next. At the next meeting, I'm going to ask everyone how they want to proceed with the next phase. The next phase could be any one of these things or combination of, that is banners on the street poles, Minuteman, or every door direct mailing. And I have
No,
to,
no. We're talking banners. We're not talking all the others. $6,000 for banners.
I have, you want me to explain what I'm doing or not, Linda?
No, I need you to explain why you want $6,000 for banners.
Okay, no, look, you asked me to be the election chair. This is what I'm doing.
Well, the consent calendar is the rest of the items. You want $6,000 for banners. What is your motion?
I make a motion for $6,000 for banners.
I'll second to start the discussion.
Thank you. Okay, Jim Stein made the motion and Michael Cortez seconded. Okay, as far as banners are concerned, the neighborhood council had 4 banners, vinyl banners that we hung up for the council District 6 forum. And the 4 of those banners were $285.60. So let's just say it's $100 per banner. That means 60 banners are what you want to order. And that seems excessive to me.
They're not the same kind of banners as you're getting. I'm talking about putting banners on street poles. I've checked into the prices. I've looked into the permits.
How much is that? That's what we need, specifics. Give us the specifics on that.
Well, again, this has to go before the committee, but, and it would depend on how many. We're talking possibly $5,000, up to $5,000 for 15 banners on street poles along Sherman Way.
Linda Schwerin, then Michael, and then Gary.
I'm thinking about, as James Stein mentioned, in the past, we had elections every 2 years. Things have changed. This is elections every 4 years. We would like to get more stakeholders. We've got 40-some thousand people in Lake Balboa. Poll banners, those, now that Jim has clarified that, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, those are similar to the banners that you would see on Sherman Way or the banners that you would see along Balboa between Victory and the freeway, where you'll see the pole banners that stick out, and they are usually from a council member and or has relative information regarding a school.
Yes.
Okay, so those have a lot of exposure, and I'm not sure how many months they can stay up, but that certainly would be a consideration. My comment at this point is that based on the amount of money we have left in in the budget for elections, which is about 10,000 something, if we as a council approve up to $6,000 for these street pole banners, and the consent calendar that follows this motion is approved, we're going to be way over budget for what we have to spend, because that would come out to $13,750. So my comment is, I think this is a good idea. I think that we have a lot of things financially to consider here. And I would like to think that perhaps that the poll banners on this particular item might be delayed until after the election committee has a chance to meet and present it in April. That way we would have, we'd have 2 or 3 months. That's it.
Daniel Johnson.
Yes.
Department of Neighborhood Empowerment has funds for street banners. Are there going to be any in Lake Balboa?
I would like to correct that. The department is placing pole banners in neighborhood councils. They're going to be general pole banners. And I was going to state that tonight as well in regards to this agenda item.
By general, what do you mean?
When I say general, I mean there will probably be just NC across the board, not specifically Lake Balboa. But that's to spread awareness about the NC system.
And will there be any in Lake Balboa?
I can check into that, but as I know at this moment, yes. And I was going to actually share if you all could make recommendations where you feel those pole banners should be. This would may support in reducing the cost of you all's specific Lake Balboa banners.
Great.
Okay, Jim, do you know how long it takes to make the banners?
I've looked into some generalities on that because I'm waiting to have an election committee meeting to decide whether or not that's the way we're going to go. What I'd like to do is have the funds there so that when I go to the election committee, I can say this can cost this much, this can cost this much, this can cost this much. How would you like to proceed? And you won't allow me to talk about the other things because they're not on this agenda item, or they're not on number 24.
That is correct.
Linda Gravani, most printing places, because the pole banner dimensions are all pretty standard, most places can turn it around in 2 to 3 days.
And then we need permits, you mentioned.
Correct.
Jim?
The city has approved vendors for this. Other NCs have done this. And there's 2 here in the valley that I spoke to. And the one over on Arminta has done some stuff for the Van Nuys Neighborhood Council. And they will do the whole thing. They'll make the banners, they'll hang the banners, they'll get the permits, they'll take them down, the whole thing. And like I said, 15 of them, and again, I have to take this to the election committee to decide, but as a proposal, I thought it would be a good idea to stick these things along Sherman Way between Balboa and Havenhurst, because I've got to give them some idea to work with. And
15 of them.
They'll do that for $5,000. They can get it done in 10 days.
Okay, so the items in the consent calendar equal $7,000. There's $10,000 in the pot. So you can't get $6,000. You can get $3,000.
Okay, let's just drop that and I will go around and hand people postcards. What do you want me to do here, Linda? I'm trying to do everything with nothing.
Let me bring up a point. Daniel just mentioned that the DNC is coming up with pole banners. Generic, yes they are. I would much rather see a banner, whether it be generic. I'm not so vain as to put Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council, although it would be nice. But if I can get Daniel's banners and save money in the budget, Jim, for other things you want to do, I'm for that.
Sorry, there's more hands up. I think I was after Linda.
Yeah, you were. Michael?
So I'm supportive of banners. I don't know if pole banners are the best just for eyesight. I think it'd be good to get maybe a few, but I think it would be effective to get the banners like Valley Alliance did and put them potentially at the bus, the orange line, or even the schools where a lot of parents and a lot of folks are, and they allow space on their fences. So I think there is room to create other types of banners in a more effective manner. And I would just add, I think it'd be great if we can create banners that have potentially translated in other languages. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Danica, then Jared.
Jim, I love your banner idea, but I think also too that we need to take into consideration of time that we have now. So, you know, I mean, would there be a board decision on the design of the banner? I mean, you know, because time's not on our side now for these banners. And also too, I'd rather spend this money getting Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council flat out banners like Tarzana Neighborhood Council has all along Ventura. I'd much rather spend the money for that can stay up there for years and years and years and years.
And maybe we could have an election committee meeting and decide all that. You're the only one that's answered my email about when they'd like to meet.
I did.
Okay, let's not have side conversations. Jared, then Carol and Tony.
So I've got two big concerns. My first big concern is that pole banners are generally only useful in mass quantities because they're helpful for people who are driving or in moving vehicles. So you need a mass quantity of them in order to make a significant impact. The more that you get, the more they cost. So that's my first concern. My second concern is that we're trying to encourage outreach for an election, and that should be our sole goal for any of these expenditures. This is the people's money, and this is a democratic election that we are trying to encourage outreach for. There is no greater purpose that we are here to do than to encourage people to come and run for public office and to vote for public office. So that should be our sole mission with this fund. If we determine that banners are the best way to go, that's great, but it needs to be done economically because this money does not belong to us. There are a plethora of ways that we can get people to come out to run and to vote. I think the second we start pigeonholing ourselves into one very costly way to do that, we are doing not only ourselves a disservice as this board, but we are doing our entire community a disservice. And I also agree with Michael that any of these materials need to be in multiple languages. It is not just English that is spoken in Lake Balboa. It is several languages that are spoken in Lake Balboa, and we cannot service this community if we don't speak our community's languages. That is all I have to say. I promise.
Carol, then Tony.
Carol, can't hear you.
It helps to be unmuted. I would probably support some banners. It depends on what the language is on the banners. So I tend to agree. It's better for us if we're going to get any banners to get the kind that can be used throughout, not just for the election, as in Van Nuys and as in Tarzana, that are up on the poles that say, you know, the neighborhood council. I think the best way, honestly, to recruit people for the election is to talk to the people we know and encourage them to run. We all know neighbors, and hopefully our neighbors care as much about our neighborhood as we do. So I think the most effective way to get people to run is to actually all of us go out and recruit as we have done in the past. So I would support some banners. I don't think we can afford $6,000 in banners. I think it depends on what it says on the banners. But we should be looking at our own personal outreach as neighborhood council members to our neighbors to recruit people for this election.
Tony?
Well, on time, what's on the consent calendar, including mail, has to go out first. And that's really going to be important. Every door direct in English and Spanish. That makes it, in essence, you're $3,000 short on the banners. But if you approve the banners, I just want to observe that you guys will have at your next meeting an opportunity to increase the budget or change the budget if you want to take out of NPGs and give it to banners. But if you also approve the banners, you can do some of these things that Michael suggested, like banners that you put on school fences to recruit candidates in English and Spanish, so that banners could actually be spent now instead of waiting for a committee meeting because frankly, the committee doesn't decide, it's this board that makes the real decisions. I don't think it's bad if you voted for both items, realizing that you're going to be $3,000 short and that those will affect what you basically do for banners because the mailers will come first. It's just a perspective. Thank you.
I think we've had enough discussion on this, and I think we need to take a vote.
Okay, James Brown,
Can I hear the motion again, please?
to approve up to $6,000 for election banners.
No, that has to be incorrect. It has to be for street pole banners.
No, no.
No. Well, okay.
So can we make an amendment to make it 3,000, like less, since we've had the discussion?
If you'd like to.
I would like to make an amendment to make it $3,000 for up to $3,000 for banners for election purposes.
Second.
Okay, so now for voting purposes, Lydia, so then we vote. So then we need to vote on, do you want to, so is this one, the $3,000, is that 24? And then the previous one is 24A?
No, really, 24 is still 24, so this is 24B.
Yeah, in the but in a previous meeting, we reversed it.
I know, but that's not
Yeah.
right because this
Okay,
came
I didn't
first.
think it was right then either. Okay,
Just for clarity, it's just 24 and you're making an amendment and then you're going to so you're voting on the amendment, Danica. That's what's
Correct.
happening now.
Yeah.
You don't have to
right,
let her.
so it's 24A.
Yeah. If that's the way you guys to do the minutes, then yes.
Okay. And now, are we going to vote on the 3,000 first or
Up
this?
to $3,000.
Okay, so right now, everyone, we're voting for up to $3,000 for the banners. James Brown,
Yes.
Wait, just a second, Danica, you're correct. It's the amendment. Michael Cortez made the amendment. You all are voting on the amendment.
Yeah, we've got it.
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
Who made this? Who made the second?
I did.
Okay,
Brown,
Thank you. Thank you.
Michael Cortez,
yes.
Jasmine Garcia is not here, Ruth Doxey left, Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Drosmich.
Yes.
Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes, Jared Negron,
Yes.
Carol Newman.
I think the motion is too general and not specific enough. And if the banners are just going to be used for this election and then thrown out, I vote no.
Okay. Jeremy Pisanic, Jeremy,
Yeah, abstain.
Linda Schwerin,
Abstain.
Jim Stein,
Dang.
seven yeses, one no, three abstentions, motion passes. So now we need to go back to number 24, which is
Correct.
$6,000 for the banners. So now that's what we're voting on right now.
Correct.
Okay, James
Wait.
Brown.
I have to stop you. That's
No,
incorrect.
it is correct,
It is
Daniel.
correct. We have to vote on this and vote no on it. Anyway,
You amended the dollar amount on the item.
That is
So it's
correct.
no
And we
longer
just,
6,000, it's 3,000. You
And
all
now-
voted on the specific amendment. Now the item has changed to said amendment. So now you're voting for exactly $3,000. $6,000 is no longer in the pictures because Michael Cortez altered that and said up to 3,000. That's why I wanted to make sure you all were clear in the beginning. So the no's and the yeses and the abstentions were for his amendment of 3,000. It passed. Now you all have the set dollar amount of 3,000. $6,000 is no longer on the item. I just want to make sure that's clear.
This is
And-
Lydia.
and-
Let me
any
clarify.
questions?
This is Lydia. Let me clarify for the minutes. And that is you voted for the amendment, and now you have to vote for the motion as amended.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's correct.
so then we never vote on 24 ever. So then what is this? So does the motion as amended become number 24, Lydia?
It is now 24, exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Just in your notes, put amendment, so we know that's the amendment vote. I'll get it off the recording too.
So a yes vote means $3,000.
Yes.
That's where we are. Yes, that's where we are at this next motion.
Linda, we're
Clarification.
voting. We're
Yes,
voting.
this is a clarification on the motion. The motion is for
3,000.
street pole banners.
No.
No, it's not.
No, not,
No, it's not. Swearing, it's not. It's been for banners from the very beginning. There was no specification that it was street pole banners.
okay, then I'm sorry, I have to vote no.
Okay.
Linda, if you read 24, it says banners. It doesn't say street banners.
No, it doesn't say
Okay,
any,
let's continue. So you'll
it
vote
doesn't
no.
say
That's
any
fine.
kind of
Okay,
banners.
so-
Look, you
okay.
know, we're
All
gonna
right.
be here until midnight.
Yeah, I know. James Brown,
Yes.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Ruth Oxy's not here, Jasmine Garcia not here, Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Drosmich.
Yes.
Gary Kay,
No.
Danica Middleton is a yes, Jared Negron,
No.
Carol Newman,
No.
Jeremy Pisanik,
No.
Linda Schwerin,
No,
Jim Stein,
Abstain.
5 yeses, 5 noes, 1 abstention. It's a tie. What do we do then?
Abstains don't count. Did you not count me?
Ties or no?
Well, I
No,
think it
there's
doesn't,
5
No,
yeses.
no, not for,
it doesn't pass. If it's tied, it doesn't pass.
Okay, so then the motion doesn't pass.
So we have no election banners, correct?
Correct.
Well, wait a
Okay.
minute. I mean,
No,
I think
no.
there's a lot of
No, no, no. There's
confusion about what we're
banners
voting
further
on.
down, you guys.
Wait, I think Carol, please share your feedback.
No, I was just saying, I think there's a lot of confusion about what we're voting on.
I do too.
Okay,
So first we voted to amend the motion as it was written on the agenda. Then
That
we
passed.
voted,
And that passed.
then we voted on that motion that we amended.
Yes.
But this is the only
That's what
election banners item, so we aren't voting for any election banners.
No, not true,
Correct.
because if you,
Just the funding for
Yeah.
that. So he can still go
Yes.
back and change it and bring it back to us.
It's, yeah.
Daniel,
Not till April.
can you elaborate on that, Daniel, before you disappear? I know we
I'm
know
with
it's
you all.
late. We
Don't
know
worry,
it's late.
I'm here to serve you all as you are to serve the community. Don't worry about that. I'll never leave you all hanging.
24
this is what
fails,
happens
move on.
when you do amendments, you have to vote on the amendment and then restate the item as amended and vote on that. That's what happens when you make an amendment. So you're voting on that particular item to change it, and then you have to vote on that change. You have to vote on as it is, as it changed, okay?
so we voted on the change and the change passed at 5.
The amendment, yes. If you're saying that the 5 and 5, I feel like it got killed
Oh,
because
5
of
and
that
5.
abstention.
yeah, it's 5 and
Well,
5.
You
No, it
voted
wasn't
on
5 and
amending
5.
the motion.
I voted
then-
abstain. That doesn't count.
You voted on whether to amend the motion, and then you voted on whether to approve the amendment.
Yes.
And that
To-
didn't pass.
To approve the item.
Oh, then
To
I'm
approve the item
confused.
As
Linda,
amended.
be quiet, please.
It sounds confusing, but it's not.
Oh,
You
no,
all
it
changed
is.
the language, you voted on the language change, right? It said, yes, this is the language we want. Now you're voting on the item. As the language it's no longer a language change at this point, it is what it's changed to. Now you're voting on that, right?
So we
That's what
voted on
happened.
a language change to $3,000 that passed. Then
Yeah.
we voted on the motion and that didn't pass.
I will, as I stop, and yes, Linda, you said it correctly. I will stop by saying this because I know Tony has his hand up. We have to look at how your board handles abstentions. That's not just a Daniel thing, that's a us thing. So I'm going to try on the back end and look that up, but you all have to be well versed in that as well. Okay.
Abstention is a no vote. It's a non-vote.
A non-vote, yeah.
It doesn't count.
Yeah.
So
because
then
you
it was
don't have
killed on the
enough
floor.
knowledge.
It didn't pass.
Right, okay.
Right.
We're gonna move on, Tony. Consent calendar. The following items 25 through 28 can be approved in one action unless a board member needs further clarification. So 25, 26, 27, 28. Does anyone want to pull anything out and discuss separately?
Yeah, 28, it says like $6,000. I would pull 28. Just because it's a large amount.
Yeah.
In order to get all of the area in Lake Balboa, it is quite a large number. So that it's not, it's by zone, and we don't want to leave out any zone.
It sounds reasonable.
Giovanni, I have a question. If the
Yeah.
board already approved funds to be spent by the election committee for the election, why do we have to approve each individual expenditure?
Because if you noticed, when Linda was going through the budget, she said office, and we identified each and everything in the office. And then for outreach, we didn't identify anything because you have to identify and vote on specific. Same thing with election, you have to vote specifically. You can't just say, here's your budget and go run with it. So
Okay.
everything the full board needs to approve. The only thing that's a line item is the operational expenses. AT&T is going to cost blah, 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 blah.
Okay,
Tony?
If those who were voting the second time didn't realize that they were voting for zero, basically what Michael suggested was that you have like English, Spanish banners you can put on schools that say, please run for office, that kind of thing. A banner, but not a street banner. If you now are upset that you have zero, you could reconsider that if someone on the winning side, someone who voted, well, actually, in this case, it's a tie, so.
Yeah, it's a tie and bottom.
You could reconsider
Wait a
and vote on
second,
that
wait a
again.
second.
$3,000 is what I'm saying. You could.
Okay, wait a second. He can bring it up at the next meeting and vote for it. We're beating a dead horse here. We've moved on to the other consent items. Does anybody want to pull anything out, or do you still want to pull that out, Michael?
I mean, I just have a discussion for 28. And this goes for all of them. So that's why I was like, I just want to make sure on the record translation. So
We can
that's
pull
why
it
wanted
out.
to-
I don't
that's why I
know.
wanted to pull it out.
Okay, we'll pull it out. So we're talking about items 25, 26, 27. Okay, I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council.
I'm raising my hand here. I'm gonna say something. On this same page of the agenda, it says we're not meeting in April. Just a moment.
No,
ago-
no, it doesn't say that. It says April 5 is canceled.
Right. Okay. As Tony just said a moment ago, mailing has to be done somewhat promptly. I'm paraphrasing. Why even have an election committee if we can't go in there talking about what we might spend? The every door direct, we got 45,000 stakeholders, more or less. $6,000 is a lot of money, yes, but using every door direct, that doesn't even begin to touch them. Doesn't even begin. And if we push this out all the way to May, what's the point? What's the point, Linda? I haven't spent, out of $12,500, I've virtually spent nothing on elections so far. About, well, $200 on flyers, one really about $86 banner, and a few dollars in cookies. That's it. That's all.
Is the committee able to have a special meeting?
Absolutely.
Which one?
So Jim, I'm going to stop you right there because I think it's
Election.
inappropriate for you to be attacking the president of the council in
Jared,
a public forum.
Jared, he is expressing an opinion. He is not attacking.
That's fine, but it can be done
Okay,
calmly
one at a
and
time.
collectively. It
Jared
can be
has the
done
floor.
calmly, and there's other options at your disposal, Jim, to get this done in a collected way and in an organized fashion that hasn't been done. And I don't think it's fair to take it out on any member of this council because you haven't done the planning correctly.
I
These
got
are
an
public
idea,
funds,
Jared.
Jim.
Why don't you become the election chair? Why don't you
These are
attend
public funds.
any committee meeting?
Okay, wait a
I'm
second.
busting my ass.
Time out.
I'm busting my ass every day of the week.
All right.
Finding prices and delivering.
Jared, you're attacking Jim with that comment. So
Yeah,
you're guilty of what
let's-
you accused him of.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait a second.
Yeah,
Wait.
let's stop that.
Okay, I got the floor. It's very difficult to kind of plan how you're going to spend the money. And I think what Jim is trying to do is say, okay, we've got the money. This is how the election committee would like to spend it. If we can give him an idea of you've got this budget, this budget, this budget, he can now plan and say, okay, these are how many, this is what we're going to do. This is it. But if you come first with this is what we want to do, and then come for the funding, we may not have a meeting until the end of April. We can have a special meeting, but I know we all are so excited about special meetings. So the more we can accomplish today and give authority to Jim to do would be the best. If we don't want to vote on consent for all of these, we'll pull them out so we can discuss them. But bottom line is we need to be able to give Jim some money so that he can get the shredding done. He can get all of that stuff done and make some plans. And I don't feel anybody's attacking anybody, quite honestly. I think we're just really tired.
And it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Exactly. So having said
Get a
that,
grip.
okay, I'm going to ask one more time. We have these 25 through 28. Michael, do you still want to pull out 28?
No, I'm fine.
Are you sure?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I have a breakdown of costs real quick for you, Michael. Okay, so,
No, we're not
Well,
pulling it
I
out.
don't think we need to get into that now.
okay, good.
And I have the floor.
Oh, sorry.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I raised 3
You know
kids,
what?
okay?
I know we've gone this far. Actually, yes, please pull 28 because I do want to, let's have a conversation about it.
Okay. So items 25, 26, and 27 are on the floor. I move that Lake Balboa support the funding of the items in 25, 26, 27 as stated.
A second.
Ravani made the motion. James Brown seconded.
But for purposes of the record, since we're recording this, can you please read what the motions are?
I will.
Thank,
Funding-
yes, thank you.
Discussion and possible action regarding approval of up to $750 paper shredding events for election outreach. Discussion and number 26, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of up to $300 for phase 2 election flyers. 27, funding, discussion and possible action regarding approval of up to $700 for 18 June 2023 election location. Gravani made the motion. James Brown seconded. Discussion. Let's vote.
Okay, perfect. James Brown,
Yes.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Ruth Doxey left, Jasmine Garcia not here, Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Drossomich.
Yes.
Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes, Jared Negron,
Yes.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik, Jeremy,
Jeremy.
Yes.
Linda Schwerin,
Yes.
Jim Stein. Jim,
Yes.
11 yeses, 0 nos, motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, number 28, funding discussion and possible action regarding the approval of up to $6,000 for every door direct advertising. So Danica, you want to fill us in on every door direct since you use it a lot?
Yes, I just quickly went on the postal website, and for 12,954 postcards, which is not really even all of our area, that's a cost of $2,448.31. That's just to mail them. To get printed up 13,000 postcards is $490.10. And that's if you allow them the 3 day, time. But if you need it the next day, then of course the cost goes up. So that said, that's right there. That's $2,938.41. So you double that because we have to, because we have what, 45,000 people? So doubling, there you go. There's the 6,000.
Okay, so I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council approve up to $6,000 for every door direct advertising.
I second.
Ravani made the motion, Danica seconded. Discussion.
So I didn't raise my hand.
Michael.
Danica, for that price, what is the size of the postcard and what does it get us?
4 by 6.
No, it was actually the size, the little bit larger sizing. You can do 2-sided color.
Okay.
You can do one side Spanish, one side English.
Okay.
What's the size of the card?
What's that?
Size of the card.
Did I exit out of there?
So
The
while you're
card-
while you're looking, I just wanted to.
No, you know what? That is a 4 by 6 card.
That's what I
So,
thought, yeah.
Okay.
so if we go like the larger, I mean,
That's okay. That's okay, Dan. I get it.
I think that helps. I just
How
wanted
many
to finish.
the 6
I
by
just-
9
Linda, raise your,
cards?
we need one person at a time. Michael.
I just wanted to finish my comment. Jim, I support your efforts. I think you're doing great as an election chair. I just wanted to pull this because I think it's important for record for us to say, like, if we're going to do this and it's going to reach households that are possibly in other languages, let's see what we can do to add it. I'm happy to work with you on that postcard that goes out to folks. So that's really what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
I actually have done this before when I was at Northfield East. It does work. It does work to recruit candidates. I can't imagine any neighborhood council in the city not putting information out for this in both English and Spanish. I know there are all kinds of people that say, but what about Mandarin and things like that? But you just make it impossible to fit the information on the card. Even if it's Armenian, we have lots more Armenians in Panorama City. Not that many need it. Numerically, the people who need the language is Spanish. So if you do the card in English and Spanish, it has to be the bigger size, the like 5.5 by 8.5 or 9-inch cards, so that there's enough real estate. So you're not looking at tiny print and you have plenty of room for English and Spanish. And frankly, if you can get them out in time to urge people to run for office, this will make your election, because this is how you get volunteers. If they don't get a seat on the board, rope them into a committee, say, come to our meetings and share your opinions. But this is, the election will depend on how many good candidates you get, particularly from not the typical folks. So, and it's about, typically, the printing of the big cards cost about the same as the postage. So if you have one carrier route, you have 1,200 people in the carrier route, it's 16 cents for the postage, it's 16 cents or 18 or whatever it is for the printing. So it's So you're going to spend almost $1,000 per carrier route, just for one carrier route, with equal costs for postage and big size printing. Anyway, I'm just supporting what Michael wants to do with this. I really think it's going to be good for you. I know it's worked. And I
Thank
hope
you.
it
We
works.
get the point. Lydia, you've got your hand raised in the back. Are you leaving us? So you want to go to bed or?
My question is, okay, if you need to print the cards in Spanish because the person doesn't speak English or doesn't understand English, and they want to run, and you're doing this so they have the chance to run for office, but we all speak English. We don't speak Spanish. We wouldn't know what they were talking about if they actually won or if they became part of the council.
Then we need to put money in the budget at that time for a translation.
Okay.
Okay, two more. And that's it. Linda Schwerin and then Jim Stein, you get the last word.
Okay, quick question. Danica had mentioned both the costs for printing and mailing. What was the quantity, the total quantity you were talking about as far as mailing out? How many thousand for that match?
It was 12,954, but if we're talking about the 6x9 postcards, you need to make that printing cost to be $2,000. So.
Okay, we're not deciding what
Yeah.
we're doing at the moment. So that's
Okay.
kind of, that's.
I
that's
just
kind
asking,
No,
how
it's
many
kind
people?
of off topic. It's a little off topic. We don't need to discuss that, how and where and all of that. We're
No
just trying to
problem.
get the funding. Jim?
Never mind. I'm going to put my hand down.
Okay, let's take a vote.
James Brown,
Yes.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Ruth and Jasmine are not here. Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Gerasimovich.
Yes.
Gary Kay.
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes. Jared Negron,
Yes.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Yes.
Linda Schwerin,
Yes.
Jim Stein.
Abstain.
10 yeses, 0 nos, 1 abstention. Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay. 29, funding. Discussion of possible action regarding the approval of $2,500 for task neighborhood purposes grant to purchase an evacuation chair and cabinet. And task stands for the Adult Learning Center. They are on the second floor in an office building in Sherman Way, and they realized that if the elevator doesn't work, they have no way of getting some of the folks out of the building. So I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council approve the neighborhood purposes grant for $2,500 for task.
Second.
Thank you. Ravani made the motion, James Brown seconded. Gary.
My hand is up just to bring your attention that you've had John and Michelle attendees with their hands up for a while
Oh,
now.
sorry. Thank you. Hi,
Hi, who?
John
Thank
and
you. Hi,
Michelle.
who? Me who? Thank you. John Hales. Quickly, less than 30 seconds, 2 things. Number 1, we finished putting 20 banners up in Northridge South for $3,600. That's 4-color, 2-sided, mounted, etc. The group obviously wasn't researched. Secondly, we have a unit over public storage. We pay $250 a month. Thank you. Appreciate you recognizing me.
Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that, John. I apologize.
That's okay. My wife does that to me all the time.
I'll be your neighborhood council wife. Okay, Jim and Danica.
Jim?
John, what kind of banners were those, please?
That's what I was gonna ask.
They were 36 by 73 inches. They're pole banners. And you
Thank
can
you.
see them anywhere in Northridge South. They're hanging off the poles.
John, would you?
Thank you
Who is
very
the
much,
vendor?
John.
Wait a second. John,
Yes,
My
ma'am.
email is on the screen, linda.g@lakebalboanc.org. Would you send me that information, please?
I'll send you the copies of the banner as well as the quote. or
Thank
what we-
you, because we've moved on.
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay, we
understand.
now have the task motion.
And
Is
that,
there discussion? Let's take a vote.
James Brown,
Yes.
Michael Cortez,
Yes.
Ruth and Jasmine are not here. Linda Gravani,
Yes.
Lydia Gerasimovich,
Yes.
Gary Kay,
Yes.
Danica Middleton is a yes. Jared Negron,
Yes.
Carol Newman,
Yes.
Jeremy Pisanik,
Yes.
Linda Schwerin,
No.
Jim Stein.
Abstain.
9 yeses, 1 no, 0 and 1 abstention. One abstention. Motion passes.
Easy for you to say. It is 10:21, and I want to say thank you. Really, thank you for all you do for our neighborhood council, for all you do for our community, for staying late and coming early and coming to all the events, board members, really appreciated, and all the block captains that try to keep us safe and informed. And all the things that we do behind the scenes. It really is appreciated. And wow, if we were in person, we would have been locked out of Galt Street School long ago. And maybe that would be a blessing. But anyway, thank you so very much. To be continued, we will have a meeting in April, but we don't know quite yet when that will be. Passover is next month on our regular meeting day, so we will have a canceled meeting. Meeting is adjourned, 9:21. I mean, 10:22.
Good night. Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks all.
Good night.